This is Grandstand AFL.
Great intensity.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's on. They are on the kill. They've got the sniff.
That's the step up, isn't it? September, It finds you out.
Well, they've been absolutely thrashed. But then it took someone who actually wants to stand up and show that they can actually turn this game around.
So when he does get an opportunity, he takes it. There's an absolute scalpel in front of goal.
That was incredible bravery.
I closed my eyes and I thought he's dead.
Oh, Steve Johnson! Some final matches, Steve Johnson!
Franklin's right into the back play. He is hurt. It's the dramatic moment in a fight where the boxer can't regain his footing. He dabs it up to Stokes, turns onto the right boot, and he kicks Geelong into the preliminary final.
Pulls the ball in the direction of Cracker, who goes for goal and nails it from 50.
Solo trying to spin out of the pack. He does to Paul. He snaps the sealer.
One-on-one here, Franklin with Teddy Richards. Franklin doubles back, gathers, runs unopposed to the goal square and kicks his second, and surely has sealed a place in the preliminary final for the Hawks.
Franklin and Richards. Richards backed himself. He didn't trap it. Berglund to Franklin out the back. He's going to kick his fourth. She's all over now.
Screaming past is Lacroix on the 50. Hand pass into Darling on the run. He dodges and weaves, snaps across his body and has kicked another one. The teenager on fire. 3 goals in the semi-final.
It's the longest last quarter I've ever seen.
Kicked by Tui, straight down the centre. What a mark by Lynch. Siren, the Eagles. Phenomenal game of football.
This is Grandstand AFL.
There's an energy surrounding preliminary finals. Some of it's nervous and some expectant. Sometimes it goes precisely to script. But when it doesn't, the diversions can become part of football folklore. The stepping off point this weekend is Friday night at the MCG. Collingwood and Hawthorn, drawn in a rare finals appearance down the years, but on one on which so much rests. Gerard Waitley with you for Grandstand AFL. And Drew Morford, who has presided over many a preliminary final that has come as part of football folklore. Welcome aboard, Drew.
Yeah, I have, Jared. We've seen some fantastic games. The one that comes to mind mostly is the surprise victory by Carlton over Essendon. The one-pointer, that fantastic tackle laid by Fraser Brown. But there have been many, many. Last year, on this very night, Collingwood played Geelong, and the Pies were 62 points up at half-time. There were 95,000 people here. Now, tonight we have 2 Victorian teams. Hawthorn's membership has never been greater. Collingwood playing a final in Melbourne. Why wouldn't we do it again? Allowing for the fact that the traffic can't get here and the punt roads come to a standstill.
There's an excavator that's come off a truck and it's keeping everyone away from the G. There are actual impediments to getting here. I guess the landscape for the weekend is, for an upset to be caused, it would have to be one of those that would become part of footy folklore to stop Geelong and Collingwood advancing to a grand final. Peter Schwab in place. Hello, Schwabby.
Hello, Jared. Nice to be here. I've been thinking of ways that Hawthorn can win all week, and I haven't come up with them yet.
You've got just over half an hour.
It's a great night. Is my trouble
Have
here.
a little play with that while I say hello to David Parkin.
Jared, I'm like everybody else. The anticipation, looking at the grandstands, you think it was a home and away drawing about 35,000. So obviously, when the driver was asked what was he doing with his truck caught under the bridge, and he said, what were they putting a bridge here for? It's a bit sad because the official dinner, which I went to a few minutes ago, was really half full. So I'd left after 3/4 now and had the beautiful entree, and the people just hadn't turned up. So it must have really caught everyone.
Well, I suppose it's a ticketed affair, so even if you're in the traffic, you're still going to come, and you mightn't get here till quarter time, but you're going to make it.
I spoke to Stephen Goff during the week, and the pre-sales again suggested we wouldn't get much over 80,000, so we're not probably looking at a 90 plus as we had with Geelong and Collingwood. I would have thought that this was going to be a game which would attract all people, not only the supporters of both sides, but one that has enough in it to say we'll get the best that football, like we got in Perth last week. It was the best of football, some slug and never say die and close finish, etc. I think the Hawks are believing they can get there. I'm not so sure.
David, a couple of firsts for you this week. paid your own way to go to Perth. An absolute first.
Yeah, it is.
Sat in the outer with the great unwashed. Is that a first?
Yeah, I met some interesting people too. It's like travelling on a tram. Now I'm using the seniors ticket. You meet some very interesting people, some very funny people, and some very extraordinary people too.
And I also hear that you were spotted buying a ring this week. Is that a first?
No, I bought lots of rings. No, that's not such a leading question to ask me on radio, is it? Have I gone red?
No, you haven't.
No, that's all right. I'm holding.
Is there an announcement that you'd like to make, just to us? You know, we're just here in the box.
No announcement. No announcement.
We've got the full bench in the experts department tonight. Matthew Knights has walked into a sabotage. Not a welcome.
Well, I was actually expecting, I was encouraged to make sure that I got a word in tonight between these two, Swabby and Parko, but Parko was baffled for the words there, so I'm going to get some words here in the first 10 minutes while Parko gathers himself.
How would you be if you got enemies when you got friends like him?
And apparently Clarko was trying to get into the ground and tried to whip around in his car, and a couple of policemen stepped in and just held him up and said, no, you're not going nowhere. So Clarko was even struggling to get into the ground.
Is that right?
And I have trouble with this. Go home and start again. Obviously the policeman barracked for Collingwood.
Yeah, he had black and white under his uniform.
So set the landscape for us for the weekend. Are we expecting the two favourites to advance? Can you see an upset in one of our two prelims?
I mean, we all think we know, and most of the so-called experts, I see the papers, there's about 40 experts and 39 of them have picked the first and second place. And look, that's the great thing about our competition, isn't it? Even though we've been quite excited about the finals, they've gone out basically in the order of which they finished, and I don't think that that's going to change tonight. Hawthorn, I happened to meet Sam Mitchell on the riverbank this morning, and out with his kids sleeping at the local hotel, and the family had come down early this morning to spend some time with him. And Sam's a realist and very well balanced young man, and I walked away with a little more confidence I had in reading and seeing and anticipating what most of us had. So they think that they have the game plan, they think they have the form, and they believe they have the capacity to deliver against it.
Well, where can they get them?
Well, that's what I keep going back to round 15, was it, when we watched them here, and they were mutilated. Their game plan, which somebody suggests has been structured to beat Collingwood. Well, Collingwood's defensive pressure is second to none. Their contested ball ratio of contested ball with the people they're playing against is the highest ever recorded in football history, so they told me at Champion Data. So you wonder if the game plan, which is to control the ball, particularly with the medium length kicking, which they're so good at it, they're the best kicking team I've ever seen, so there's the other extreme, but I don't think Collingwood will allow you to play that way, and I think their intense pressure of reducing the time and space, both in winning the ball and then not allowing people just to wander off and get on their own and use it without any, the non-contest stuff, which Hawthorn are so high and incredibly so far forward of any other team in the competition, just won't happen. That would be my belief. You saw what happened last week. Structures and methods go out a bit. It becomes in the finish a desperate one-on-one slog, which it happened to be in WA, the sort of stuff that I happen to enjoy, because the not being able to anticipate, not knowing what's going to happen, the high levels of uncertainty keep the interest. I was mesmerised watching the crowd rise and fall over there as things happened on the field. It was just a wonderful experience to be sitting in the crowd and actually hearing and seeing, which we don't when we're in this homogenised, whatever it is, behind the glass here. We don't see that. So I'm having great difficulty. They've certainly caught the ball even better than Collingwood in their 50s, so Hale and Franklin have done some incredibly good work. Dawes is not doing that at the moment, so there are a few question marks against individual Collingwood players like we haven't seen for a while. Mick says he's got the best 30 he could have. He's got the best team possible. They're best prepared. I'm not so sure in reality that's absolutely true. They've got half a dozen, 25% of their players who for some reason haven't had consistent and continuous football. That would be one chink. I keep thinking that they might be able to open up, but it's a huge task. Hawthorn will have to get everything right, get started right, kick goals when they get control of the ball, and they might be able to put some pressure back on Collingwood. But it is that would be my belief, a massive task for them tonight.
I think the there's two elements here that I want to link to the evolution of this game, is the stoppages and the inside 50s. Both play a man back as insurance at stoppages. So Collingwood are going to have a man back, and it will be Maxwell, it will be Heath Shaw. Hawthorn like to play a man back as well, because they run on the theory that once they get it back, they're going to keep it from you anyway. So both are going to have insurance at both ends. I would think if Hawthorn are going to be in this game, they're going to have to win the inside 50s by 10 to 15. Because what happens if Collingwood dominate you inside 50, they smash it in there, they belt you at the fall of the ball, but they're live ball pressing from behind the ball. So O'Brien and Reid and Tarrant are already on the up, and they get to defend around the middle of the ground. What you have to do is put massive pressure on O'Brien, Reid and Tarrant 0 to 30 and make him keep defending. And then they lose and they get fatigued. They haven't got as much power coming back the other way. If they dominate inside 50 and Harry and Heath Shaw are able to sit and watch, and when their time comes just explode at you, too powerful. Much too powerful. So Hawthorn are going to have to pepper inside 50 and put this wonderful Collingwood defence under pressure, make them scramble, make them work, and then they won't counter-attack nearly as vicious. So the stoppage is a big one that results in the inside 50s.
We've only seen Collingwood's defence poor in one game, haven't we, really? And it was against Geelong, where you could argue they'd put the cue in the rack. But there were, you're right, there were signs that night, even so, that O'Brien and a few of the others under real pressure do bomb the ball. But the big plus for them, they've got Shaw back and Maxwell back. Now, I don't think Maxwell's, he's not a great player in the sense of his ability, but it's his leadership and direction around there. I think Shaw's an outstanding player and gives them the run Matthew's talking about. It's just really hard. I mean, they've been the best side all year. They've lost one game, or 2 games, sorry. Lost one game where they did get beat. The other one, you could argue that they probably didn't try as hard as they should have. They've got Thomas back in the side tonight, who's a super player, and they've got Reid, who's another gun defender. So they've only been bolstered by what happened the other week. They've had a week off, which I think come finals time is an unbelievably huge advantage. I just think Hawthorn, and there's a lot of other factors, I think, up forward even. Hawthorn are limited. I mean, they've got Buddy and Rioli, but if you look at the top 10 goal kickers in this game, Franklin's 1, Rioli's 5, Collingwood have got all the other positions taken. So there's a view that if you've got a spread of goal kickers, you've got an opportunity to kick scores, whereas Hawthorn can get shut down if Franklin gets shut down.
Other sport going on tonight. It's half-time in the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. The Wallabies going around tonight against the United States, and the Australians finally putting some tries on the board. 22-5 it is at half-time, Australia over the United States. But they did concede a try to the Americans, which has got to be some sort of a slap in the face.
And you've written that on the team sheet, which is very interesting with the substitutions.
Suckling is the sub for Hawthorn. I'm not sure why Bruce doesn't get a game for the Hawthorn, because he's the best sub in the game. But the big news for Collingwood, the sub there is Alan Didak. Now, at this time of the year last year, we saw Leon Davis get shunted out of the Collingwood side and missed playing in a premiership. Didak going to the substitutes vest. Is that halfway to being out of the side for a premiership next week?
I'm surprised, because I thought he'd either be out, not substituted. They'd play him this week. If he came to the occasion and performed, then he would hold his place in the grand final. He may not, for whatever reason, get substitute early enough to actually, prove his credentials for next week. So I was quite surprised to read that, actually. And not too many Collingwood people I know, and they're all Didak lovers. I couldn't believe that we even think about putting Didak out, but there weren't too many that were riding him home. They think he's been a very average player, and they've carried him for the last couple of weeks. So big question mark there. The other kid who's been dropped does have a real go. I mean, he really is a vibrant competitor, and I think very stiff to be out of the side.
And the goal he kicked on the full-time siren last time was, well, it hit the crowd from 50. He's kicked it about 65 metres in the last minute of the game.
That's Fasolo we're talking about?
Yeah, Fasolo. Yeah.
Well, it's a dilemma for Didak, because in many ways he'll want a lot of ground time, but Collingwood won't want that, because that means someone's injured. I think they'll stick with him. And I think they'll think he can do the job as a sub as good as the young kid.
And he might even play sub again next week.
That's my view.
Yeah, yep. Okay. Not a bad sub when you think about it.
Outstanding. I mean, it's just the player you want in that position, because can change the game, in a breath. 4 or 5 minutes he might need. He only need 3 or 4 touches. He scores one, he sets one up. So that Hawthorn sub is a mighty talented kicker of the football. They used him late last week, come on, was able to provide good depth with his kicking. He's another really good resource as a sub because he comes in and provides something different from the back.
Yeah, and he's great on kick-ins because he can play on and all of a sudden the footy's 70 metres away from goal.
If Collingwood by some fluke happen to lose tonight, it'll be the last time Mick Malthouse coaches them. But I want to give him a rap here. For Leon Davis. 2 years ago, he was in the All-Australian team as a goal-kicking forward pocket. Then last year he was dropped from a premiership side, and this year he's back in the All-Australian team as a half-back flanker. Well done, Mick.
Yeah, well, but it mightn't have been Mick. Somebody else might have actually engineered or thought that through. That's true. In the finish, he's got to rubber stamp that. But I must admit, I mean, Yaron, a few of them are doing it, aren't they? A few of them are failed forwards. It used to happen in my lifetime in footy all the time. All of us who were failed forwards, not good enough or courageous enough to survive, all got shunted down the other end and became half reasonable players. And I think it's a massive, because he hasn't, you say he's made All-Australian, but he bolted in All-Australian because he's been absolutely superb in the role that he's played.
Hey, but in your day, when you went back, all you had to do was to defend. These days, they get up forward and kick goals on the run. Yaron's been sensational.
No, we watched.
Oh, did you?
We watched. The most kicks I've ever had in a game was 12. So people say, why did back players become reasonable coaches? Well, we're half reasonable coaches and we watched most of the football played ahead of us.
Were you a big handball exponent, were you, David?
Never did. One day I was being pulled to the ground and I had to get rid of it, or else I got caught holding the ball. It's the only time I can remember handball.
Assist with your question, Drew. The luxury, however, Collingwood have with the emergence of Cracker, side, bottom and beams allows Davis to play comfortably over a period of time in the back line. And one of the things with that experimentation is leaving Leon there for a good deal of time. Yaron's the same. They've got Garlett and Betts who are doing the job up front, so they can afford to play Yaron there and leave him 6 or 8 or 10 weeks, find his feet, get going, and both of them have smashed the role. I love the way Leon picks the ball up at speed and turns the corner. He changes direction in a whim, he moves, he shakes, he bakes. He's got terrific mobility, agility, and I've been surprised with his overhead spoiling. He gets up, spoils, and then gets to the ground really quickly, which makes covers his direct opponent.
Somebody produced a stat, wasn't he? He kicked it 189 times or something for the year, and he missed one. He got 188 out of 189 kicks actually hit the target, and they hit it just in or just outside 50 somewhere, where they're 1 and a bit kicks away for the opposition to put it away. So he's been a marvellous player, really, and looks like to me that he really is enjoying his footy.
That's like a golfer sinking every putt from outside 20 feet. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
If I said to you there was an upset this weekend, is it more likely to be tonight or tomorrow, in your opinion, Matthew?
I actually like West Coast form line. I really love their form line through Collingwood and Carlton. Kerr's got a game under his belt. Nathaniel and Cox, an intriguing battle with Ottens. And Ottens is going to have his hands full with these two because they are marvellous ruckmen in their diverse way. So I think the scrambling might be done tomorrow with West Coast. I think they're going to be around the action for a while. I think Geelong's talent and depth of talent will get them there, and they'll run away. But I think they're going to provide a lot of fight for a long period of time. I'm a little bit with Schwabby. I'm not sure what Hawthorn can bring tonight to penetrate Collingwood, because I think Collingwood will keep grinding. The only thing Hawthorn can go with is to come out of the gates quickly, get a 4 or 5 goal lead, and then make the Magpies take risks to the corridor, which they're not familiar and they don't want to. So Hawks have to start faster. I think they're in real trouble.
They've actually been pretty good in their first quarters,
they have.
Particularly against Geelong. If you go back and I watched the first quarter of last week's game, Hawthorn-Sydney again, interestingly enough, I know they had scoring shots, but they were only 1-5 to a point with 3 minutes to go in that first quarter, and Hanbury turned it over. And then Hawthorn got a goal and another quick one. That's last week, but they did start extremely well against Geelong, where they kicked 3-5. That could have been 5-3. That's the sort of start they'll need tonight to put Collingwood under enormous pressure, because if you go to the second half, Sydney outscored Hawthorn and probably outplayed them in the second half, which is a concern. I really think the sides who have the break get a massive advantage, and West Coast got to travel again. But the Collingwood players, from a good source, believe that the West Coast game was very, very tough, and they've got enormous respect for West Coast's ability. Having said that, I think it'll be a similar result where 4 goals would be round about the money, I think, for both games.
I was lucky enough John Worsfold invited me in for the debrief after the game, not with the players, but with the coaches, and it was really interesting for me when we were talking through the science of travel and all the difficulties of that to them, they just smile, because that to them is their normal routine. They're so used to it. And the advantage, John was saying, the psychological advantage, he understands the science, and the disadvantage there is somewhat in travel and training and recovery. But he said the psychological advantage of being together as we are on a weekly basis and travelling and spending time together was a bit like I spoke to Rats on the Saturday morning and the players were preparing, and he was saying what a terrific thing it was for them to come together and to travel to Perth, that was a uniting of the group in prior to that game, which they don't often get. He thinks so. You sometimes think maybe the physiological disadvantage is somewhat lessened by the psychological or social reasons for the team being together, and I hadn't really thought about it from that point of view. I thought that was a fairly good. When I started to ask those questions, they just smiled. We do this every week. This is our routine, and the capacity of us to get together and bring our players together and travel together is a very, very important influence over the group.
So you were a mole in both camps?
Yeah, I was, and with the umpires too, because Matty Stevic's one of my good boys, and he had a big game on Saturday too. And
did he have a good game?
He had a good game.
What about his mate?
Razor Ray overruled him about 4 times, but he had a pretty good game, I reckon.
39 free kicks to half time.
Could you get any sense from West Coast on the question of battle hardened or battle weary after a game like that?
No, they were saying that they're used to, a bit like Matthew's saying now, that they'll come out and go. But there is no doubt there are half a dozen players who came out of that. I've walked through it, came out of that game very, very sore. The Blake McKenzie was in a moon boot for the whole week, etc. So I mean, they've got difficulties recovering against the background of a team that's had a total fortnight basically to get themselves ripe and ready. I know which one I'd prefer to be.
And Brett Ratton being extended at Carlton, surprise?
Yeah, I'm pleased that they have, and they've made it 2 years, and it is basically unconditional. So I think that gives the boys some confidence, a little bit of kudos and reinforcement publicly. I think he's earned the right. With an ounce of luck with injuries, no doubt at Cruiser and Waite and company, we'd say no doubt they could have. But if they had some structure up forward, just one of those blokes, Cruiser or Waite, they would have won the game. They lost it on stupidity, 4 50-metre penalties, 2 of which scored direct goals.
The double goal.
The bloke called Davey, throwing a bloke on his head in the goal square. I mean, that's absolute undisciplined stupidity. So they really lose the game on things that they had control over. To me, that they have progressed as a group. There's no doubt this group has become, that's the Carlton group, become a pretty tight group, around half a dozen outstanding young men who happen to be able to play good footy.
And we've got a minute of time. Brendan McCartney and Brenton Sanderson both landing jobs during the week. They'll be our guests across Grandstand on Saturday and then on Sunday. Particularly for McCartney, this is the long way round the mountain. He's got there at last.
I think I'm president of the case, so I'd better be careful what I say. But for me, to have people like that who have done the yards, they really have. Ocean Grove producing 2 with 4 premierships. I think that's just an incredible story. I remember going to for McCartney, going to a coaches awards night on the Bellarine Peninsula like 12 or 13 years ago, and he won the senior coach of the year down there. It's just a good thing that you don't have to be an outstanding league footballer. You've got your credentials, you've had the experience, and you've produced and controlled men in teams over a period of time, done the hard yards as assistant coach. I think it's a fabulous thing for the game. I know it's a turnaround in the older profiles are going, and that may come again. I'm not so sure that this is going to be permanent, but what a fantastic thing for 3 young men to be given the opportunity to coach an AFL club out of very different pathways. I think fantastic.
So Brendan McCartney with us on Grandstand AFL tomorrow, and Brenton Sanderson on the Sunday Inquisition. So we'll have spoken to all those in their new positions by the and then we'll wait for St Kilda to get there. It's building at the MCG for the preliminary final. Hawthorn and Collingwood coming up.
Ever wanted to try Twitter or Facebook but not been sure how they work? Or maybe you're keen to catch up on ABC TV on iView, or try the ABC's new mobile services but don't know where to start? ABC's Technology Explained website is here to help. It features videos and articles on everything from social media, mobile devices and more. Head to abc.net.au/techexplained and cut through the technobabble.
This is Friday Night Football on ABC Local Radio.
It's the last Friday night of the season and so much rests on it. The first preliminary final, Collingwood against Hawthorn. The Pies have come off the week's break. They're about to test their credentials as they build toward this title defence. The Hawks are to challenge themselves against a team that they have given some trouble to in recent enough times. The Hawks and the Pies, the banners are out and the players are about to follow. Gerard Whateley and Drew Morford to call the action for you. In place, the full bench of experts, Peter Schwab, David Parkin and Matthew Knights. Drew.
Just team news, and Alan Didak is the sub for Collingwood, and that's big news from their match committee. And Beams, Sidebottom and Tuvey will start on the bench, and the sub for the Hawks is Suckling with Guerra, Shields and Whitecross to start on the bench. During the night, we'll be giving progress scores of the Rugby World Cup, and just after half-time in New Zealand, the Wallabies lead the United States 22-5. And also later on tonight, the preliminary final in the NRL between Manly and Brisbane. Oh my God, it's been Brisbane all week with Lockyer, will he, won't he? Progress scores of that game tonight.
The Hawks are first out onto the G tonight. It was 2008 when they were successful, so there's a recent enough history of it. It's the first chance they've really given themselves since. Gents, take us through the full preview.
I'll be interested with Rioli, guys. Does he have to play more permanent forward tonight to be more that potent weapon rather than not wasting his legs, but he gets up in the midfield and does some terrific stuff. But then does that take away when he goes back forward again?
Look, I thought against Geelong he looked really sore. I didn't think he had the same acceleration that he's had. I felt last week he was back near his sharpness. They do like to throw him up in the midfield occasionally, Matty, because I guess it's like any permanent forward. It's a bit difficult at times if the ball's not coming down. But I think you're right. I think if he's to have the benefit of playing forward a bit more to kick 3 goals, that'll go a long way to making sure Hawthorn kick a score that's challenging. And the other thing he does do up forward is create for everyone else. I don't know if Hawthorn did anything differently with Franklin because of his injury last week, but I just sensed he played up the ground a lot more, and it actually worked all right for Hawthorn. It created less predictability, but against that, you still got to find some players to kick goals, and Hale went forward, but I'm not necessarily hanging my hat on Hale. And after that, who are you looking for? Young Smith is, inexperienced, and then maybe guys like Hodge and Burgoyne and an Osborne to chip in. That's where I think Hawthorn will fall down. I don't think they've got the firepower, particularly as you said, against a great defence, to kick a score that's going to be good enough.
Yeah, it's just he's so dynamic in both positions. The other one with I think Didak, the Didak selection as substitute has come about because it's the first time the Collingwood defence have been there in totality. Reed's back in. They've missed Tuvey. They've missed Maxwell. They're all back. Shaw's back. I think Shaw will play a fair bit of wing tonight with Tuvey there. And I think that's then pushed Sidebottom forward, which has pushed Didak out.
And Wellingham's, as we saw against West Coast, became a goal kicker as well. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Just the Rioli thing. Rioli started up last week, but he started up and had a good burst for 5 or 6 minutes, but he played the majority of his football still forward of middle, running forward. Look, he's an incredibly important player. If they both stand up and deliver 6, 8 goals between them, I think then Hawthorn have a chance, because I'm like Pete, Aussie will chip in and kick 1 or 2. And where they're going to play, Aussie played basically as a defensive forward last week and gathered a couple. Puopolo was played for exactly the same reason. Now, you can't tag the lot of them. They can't tag Davis, they can't tag Shaw, they can't tag O'Brien, they can't tag all of these blokes. I think they've got to separate them a bit. I think as soon as they come down the corridor, these blokes collectively work so well together, get off each other, come over the top as third man. it just looked awful in round 15 as they just bombed the ball in the Hawks to a group of forwards who seemed to be structuring up very much in the hub. And I thought, well, this is playing totally, which it did, into Collingwood's hands. And I know they did it, as you've suggested, Matt. They ran it out with such precision use, and they killed them on the way back. The game was over. It was just a disaster.
I think Jared was talking before we came on air about Hawthorn's style of play that they were working towards to implement to beat Collingwood's press of maintaining possession. I think a little bit that's gone out the window. I think Hawthorn will do it in their back half a bit more, but they're going to have to play on and take some options that are a little bit risky if they're going to beat Collingwood, because last time Collingwood dismantled that pretty easily with some fierce pressure.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, because I think every time a Hawthorn player gets the ball, I think they like the two-option scenario. They like having the 15-metre option as well as the 30, so that the press can't cover both. It's a bit like in a soccer game where if two options are much better than one because they give the decision-maker choice. And I think they'd like choice when the ball's in the hands of the marking player. However, you're right, they've got to take the risk and hit it, because if they don't hit the first one, Collingwood will then read you down the line, and Collingwood are terrific on the long ball down the line. So they can't go at that. Geelong did it wonderfully. They changed angle, and it was only subtly, but Geelong changed angle off half-back, and they just caught the Collingwood defence slightly wrong-footed and brought them back the other way. I think the Hawks have to slightly change the angle coming out of back half at times.
Try and find a corridor a bit more.
Keep O'Brien guessing, keep Shaw guessing.
And I think the play on, I think where Geelong got Collingwood too, is their ability to play on, because when you play on, you confuse people.
Yep.
And as long as you can hit targets and get some distance, I mean, 10, 15-metre kicks in the end aren't going to do it. It's the 35, 40-metre kick that splits the play up and creates a scoring opportunity. And the side that can deliver that will go a long way to winning the game.
And I love Geelong for that one. Movement creates movement. You just can't settle and structure up as you want to as a defensive press, as they say, if the movement's coming so rapidly. I remember going to the rooms and doing the debrief at North Melbourne this year, and they were amazed at the communication, the level of it, that is the instruction from one to each other, the demands on one of each other. They were just mesmerised by this team that works so well collectively, that is each coaching each other, setting each other up, telling you where they should be, what they need to do in these circumstances. That is a fantastic, understanding that they've created. And I think they've been as good as anybody I've seen. I can remember in the last 30 or 40 years at doing that. So to bring them undone in their back half, which is a fantastic defence, but which is their set-up point, is going to be very, very difficult. And I'm not sure, like you, Pete, when I look at the 6 or 8 that are going to run through there, I'm not sure that they have the talent or capacity to actually deal with that. I'll be interested to see. I'm not giving up on them. I think I saw on the banner which they ran through a massive 20-foot high, the word believe. This almost as if they're trying to convince them as they run through the race that this is possible. I thought I don't know whether I allow my the supporters to put something like that as if we've lost a bit of faith, but please believe that you can.
A tactic that can work well against Collingwood, and have used it before coaching against them, is because they play line football and they're happy to flip it around down the line and then bring it back in late. If they've got the ball and they turn it over down the line, there's a cavity of space on the inside of the corridor, because so many people are down the line that there's probably a 15-20 metre pocket of space that exists straight away if you turn it over. If you can get back in there and then go direct off that, you can catch their defenders out.
One of the problems with that, though, is they invariably either create another stoppage, of which they're very good at, or they work not to let it out. Stoppages will be interesting, because Hawthorn have tended to go third man up against Collingwood to try and get it out of that space, because Collingwood are so dominant.
Further progress score from the Rugby World Cup, 10 minutes into the second half, and the Wallabies lead the United States 34-5.
What about Chris Dawes tonight, who hasn't been close to it since he came back from his thumb injury? He'd want to see a little bit of something, wouldn't he?
I think he's a watch tonight. I think he's a real wild card in this game, because there's no better defender in the competition than Glass, and he had to play on him for the full 100 minutes. He won't find a Glass out there tonight. So therefore it was a massive hit out for him. Very competitive hit out. I think he's the wild card, and the brown cloak Dawes threesome is tough to handle for Hawthorn.
And they'll even throw Jolly down there at times because, I mean, Hawthorn are stretched. What have we got? Stratton, who's coming back from injury, hardly played. Gibson's been in good form, but not a big man. Schoenmakers hasn't been in good form, although, to be fair to him last week, at least he kept Reid under wraps, but he was well helped by that. That's where my lack of confidence comes with Hawthorn's capacity down back as well. So I hate knocking the side. I hope can play well and win the game, but where I'll give them a big rap is they've got a fantastic inside midfield, but the leg speed occasionally is a bit of a concern as well.
I think the big plus is that Brown hasn't been in great form, to be quite truthful. He looked like he's playing himself into retirement. You talked about Dawes. I reckon Dawes has been ordinary as compared with his form at this time last year. Jolly's no doubt is struggling. No doubt to me that he's struggling, and his last 2 games have been well below expectation. Both Wellingham and Sidebottom, certainly over the last month, have been significantly below the form that they played last year. So they've got half a dozen at least in the Collingwood side who have in name they're their best team they can have, but in actual last month's performance, I think significantly below.
So teams are heading over to the members' wing to observe the national anthem. Collingwood and Hawthorn. The Hawks have had a reasonable recent record against the Pies. Their one meeting, though, this year was lopsided Collingwood's way. We'll head down to ground level and join the AFL's Master of Ceremonies, Craig Willis.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Australian Football League and our premier partner Toyota welcome you to the first preliminary final tonight here at the MCG. Would you now please join with the coaches, players and umpires as we stand for the Australian National Anthem.
Built significantly ahead of the opening siren, and it's a picture around the ground. There are pockets of black and pockets of yellow. It's the preliminary final all over. You can see the support everywhere you look.
But still, the MCC, I think, got it right. It looks as though it might be closer to 80 than 90. There are some big gaps, and especially up at the Punt Road end, a bit like the year in the grand final when the book of tickets from Hawthorn fell behind the fridge, and there was this whole section not sold.
I was sitting next to Bob Moore, who had them in the bottom drawer. When he looked around, he got
one for himself, though.
He did. He was sitting with me. I'd flown over from Perth, and he said, "Have a look." Oh, they're in the bottom drawer.
In the front row for us tonight is Kelly Underwood. Kel, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much, Jared, and good evening to you. Bigger things to talk about tonight. About 88,000 the MCC expecting. Chilly night, 12 degrees, but of course, as we know, one of the best nights for fans on the sporting calendar. The grand final's all about the corporates. The Friday night prelim is all for the fans. Just noticed a few seagulls lurking around the G at the minute. Of course, the news today was that they brought in 2 wedge-tail eagles to frighten away the seagulls. So really, everywhere you look, there is birds. There's hawks, there's magpies, there's eagles, one on the northern end roof and one on the Great Southern Stand roof. As Drew mentioned earlier, no late changes. So the Pie sub is Didac, and of course the Hawk sub is Suckling. And just notice that Buddy Franklin in the warm-up, he's still got that right knee heavily bandaged, but he went over to the physio, he laid down on the ground and he got a rub to the lower back. So perhaps just a little bit of a lower back concern there early for Buddy Franklin. But we're all set down here and we're ready to roll, Jared.
Luke Hodges won the toss and the Hawks will go to the Punt Road end in the first quarter. The breeze a southerly, but it swirls. I'm not sure it'll be favouring one end or the other.
What's it to be, Schwabby?
Oh, my heart would like to go with Hawthorn. I think Collingwood, under 4 goals, would be a good effort for Hawthorn.
David Parkin?
I think I agree with Peter.
Yeah, Collingwood, Mitchell, Burgoyne, Rioli, those guys need to have massive nights to get Hawthorn to the line.
Drew?
I'll go for the Pies.
So we're a sweep for the Pies around the box to advance to the grand final and defend their title. They fan out into their positions, Collingwood and Hawthorn, on this weekend of great expectations.
Listen.
Wow. On Grandstand AFL, you're with Drew Morfitts.
Fantastic atmosphere.
Well, Thomas has started forward, and the 5-man that Matthew suggested, both will start with 5 in their back half, clearly in the back half.
Umpire Brett Rosebery gets us underway, and the bounce. Jolly gets his hand to it, knocks it to Pendlebury. No decisive touch until Rioli gets a hand pass out. Comes to Mitchell. Back to Mitchell off Bateman. But it spills now to Swan, and an ugly-looking kick by Swan is marked inside the centre square by Murphy for the Hawks. Kicks it across the half-back line, and Hawthorn able to come out of defence. Geordie Lewis up on centre wing, delivers that half-distance pass, which is their specialty, a bit too high for Rioli, but he recovers after dropping the mark, penetrates the 50, but he's given it straight up, and Jolly from the centre bounce has gone back into defence. Little hand pass away to Davis, and Leon dashes towards the Great Southern stand side. Couple of bounces. He's run about 50 metres and kicks it, and he's coughed it up, and Murphy for the Hawks takes the mark in between wing and half forward.
He brings it inboard for Lewis, who marks. Mitchell went by. Lewis held the footy and actually gives plenty of ground on a kick backward to Gibson. They'll switch out to the broadcast side for Birchall. But no short option, so Birchall has to back himself, run away from Dawes, deliver into the middle, and Isaac Smith marks and plays on. Hand pass to Bateman, backward to Mitchell, kicks around the corner. O'Brien has camped. Hale hit the pack, couldn't quite hang on though at the drop. Shaw worked it away through O'Brien, now to Davis, and he'll kick the Pies out of defence.
Downfield. Franklin just decked him after it. I didn't mind that by Hale. He actually should have grabbed it, but if the spare player's going to stand there, they should take him with force.
The relayed free to Swan, who goes by hand to Wellingham. Up the ground he goes to Jolly, prominent early. Beautiful kick, Dawes marks. 20 metres from goal. He's bowled over by Schoenmakers. It mightn't make any difference. Dawes so close he should score anyway.
And this is the concern. Chris Dawes didn't see more than a half a metre against Darren Glass. He saw 5 then and got out the back of Schoenmakers on an easy dead run.
Yeah, it's true. The long bomb that went in first from Hawthorn was never going to win. They took that one out easily with Jolly. And the second one that went in, Hale really had to mark that one. He had the rise on the break. Should have smashed his man in front and taken the mark. Neither happened.
Chris Dawes for the first goal of the preliminary final. Oh, he's missed it. A hook. In fact, he's hit the behind post on the full. That is out of bounds on the full. For an AFL forward, that was a sitter.
Well, he looked nervous, didn't he? He just didn't like... I just didn't like him coming in.
No, you're absolutely right, Pete. He looked a real nervous Nelly.
He just babied it, didn't he? He didn't kick through it.
Burgoyne long on the kick in. He needs Hale. Couldn't quite hang on. Ben Johnson at the drop for the Pies. Back inside the 50. He's overkicked Pendlebury. Dawes is onto it, though. Gathered the bouncing ball. Hand pass missed its targeting ball. Dawes has to go again. They pile into him and strip him of the ball. Smith is down by Luke Ball. And so the ball stays 40 metres away from the Collingwood goal.
Dangerous here with a stoppage in Collingwood's forward 50, but Dawes is up and going. I know it's only 3 minutes in, but he's been good in his attack on the ball.
Bounce 40 metres from goal. Jolly in the ruck, comes down underfoot. Mitchell backhands the ball to Smith, to Lewis, back to Sewell. Oh, he's coughed it up with a hand pass. Chopped off by Blair to Swan, whose kick is smothered. Burgoyne did well inside the centre square. He's taken to ground. They rip it away from him. Blair goes to ground now, and it'll be a ball up near the centre circle.
Well, for those at home, it is on. There's no time and space. A bit of time and space for the forwards when it went in there, but when the ball is in contest mode, they're into it. Absolutely up to the neck.
Hale and Jolly turn each other away from it. Hodge went third man up, but Jolly will get the free kick, with Hale adjudged to have taken hold of him illegally. From the middle of the ground, Jolly off a step, bombs it long inside. Hawks have extra numbers, didn't clear it though. Free kick will be a defensive one. So Schoenmakers comes up with the ball. He's at fullback. He's wandered out into the pocket. Kicks long again for Hale, who needs to take a grab. Numbers against him. Over the top came Ben Reid to force it out of play.
Throw in below the commentary box. Great sight, the MCG. Massive crowd. Hale works to the front and wins the hit. Comes... Oh, gee, that's a poor hand pass which sets him up. That was bad by Sewell going defensively and not finding a target. Grabbed by Pendlebury on the boundary line. He goes for the goal. Gets the first score of the game from about 45 metres and hard up against the boundary line. And the Pies are up behind. The Hawks yet to score.
Hawks wasting no time with the kick in. Schoenmaker's marked, played on, long around the southern side. He was trying for Rioli, but Maxwell was the coverage. Made the spoil. O'Brien against Lewis. Ball spills away. Side bottom's hand passes loose. Puopolo breaks the tackle. Skids it up to the 50. Tarrant backs himself against Franklin and wins their first duel hands down. But Smith came over the top of Shaw to make a spoil and ensure that it would go no further than the wing on the southern side. It's out of play.
Real final stuff. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast on Grandstand. Jolly works to the front. Been some question marks about him, but boy, he's been prominent early. Ball comes down to Ball. Floats a hand pass over the top to the aforementioned Jolly, who raised his elbow in trying to fend off a tackler and has given away the free kick to Sewell. Brad Sewell from centre wing, great southern stand side to the 50 in the direction of Franklin.
Shepherd,
and they double teamed him. It's a free kick to Franklin.
Yep.
Davis got hold of him. Tarrant took the mark, but Davis has been penalised.
Well, he was. He just backed into Franklin and shepherded him. It was just silly.
Silly free kick. Had him done too.
So, Buddy, he's out on the right-hand side. Normally like him on the left, even though he kicks off the left.
You can build all you like. That was an absolute free kick.
From just outside 50 metres, at the punt road end. Doubt about the knee, but he kicks the distance easily. He gives it a bit of a hook, though, and away to the right-hand side for a minor score.
Yeah, he's probably a bit far out. We know he can do the mercurial, but he didn't then.
A behind a piece. Shaw marks the kick in. The Pies go quickly. Swan's the target. Two pitted against him. No chance to mark that. Schoenmakers sees it away and out of play. Tag in and out from the bench at the stoppage. Osborne trots on. He'll go to the coalface at the throw-in. Bailey punches it to the front of that pack. Mitchell gets it against the boundary. His kick is up the line to the 50. Hale's in the pack. No mark for him. Shaw hand passes into an opponent. And it ricochets out of play. 50 away from the Hawthorn goal. It's one apiece.
Predominantly Murphy's free at one end for the Hawks and Maxwell's the free Collingwood player at their end, both mopping up for their respective teams.
7 minutes played. On the 50, Shields roves. Harry O'Brien gets him in the tackle. It spills to Reid, whose hand pass is taken by Lewis. He snaps through a vacant goal square. It pitches, bounces and gets through for the goal. First goal of the prelim to Jordan Lewis for the Hawks, and they lead 1-1 to a behind.
I was expecting him to go up for the third turn up. I thought that
he had been.
He looked like he was going, then he dropped, and the thing landed at his feet. It was a quick. He summed up what wasn't available very quickly, put it on the boot. It curved from left to right, landed on the end, and I thought the Collingwood was at Maxwell, had it covered, but it got so much bounce on it, it went over Maxwell's head through for a goal.
And direct turnovers kill you because Reid just handballed it straight to Lewis, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Or Shields, one of them.
Shields, I think it was. Yeah, look, it's been because Hale's been doing a lot of work. He's on the ball as well, and they're putting Bailey down there. I'm not so keen on Bailey as a forward, not now, but he was going forward after rucking. But Hale's got his hands near the ball a lot tonight.
Hawks with the first goal, bounce in the middle. Brown is there for the Pies, knocks it to the side. Whitecross came from half forward. He was tackled as soon as he took possession.
Well, is it Sewell who's gone forward and playing on Shaw out of the midfield.
Secondary bounce in the middle. Osborne goes third man up. Knocked it back underfoot. Lewis to Bateman. High ball inside the 50. The wrestler's on. Sewell tried to pull it clear. He gave it up to Tarrant. Goes backward to Maxwell. He can fashion it away to Davis. Pops it over the top for Reid. Each was a hand pass. Reid with the kick outside the wing. And marking the ball is side bottom as the Magpies set up.
The Hawks 1-1, lead Collingwood 1 behind. 9 minutes played. Kick by side bottom over the wing, up short of half forward. Punched away by Murphy in front. Comes to Dawes, who's wrestled to the ground by Sewell. That's brute strength. The umpire comes in and will ball it up. A lot of brute strength has been shown by both teams. Fierce start to the final. Grand final posse for the winner. Mothballs for the loser. Third man up, Osborne wins. Daisy Thomas gets his first touch for the night. Back after 2 weeks suspension, but his kick's no good. Chopped off by Burgoyne, who squares it up to Murphy, who's had a good start. Hand pass to Guerra. Across the ground to Whitecross, who just takes the mark before the spoil comes. Free kick or a mark. Whitecross at half-back for the Hawks, out on the broadcast side.
He'll go with a short ball, which wasn't great. Shields had to give it back to him in a hurry. Whitecross's hand pass was better, and Guerra goes 15 metres further afield to Shields. He breaks on the turn, kicks beyond halfway. Mark dropped by Schoenmakers, and he gave up the fluency. He's pitted against Tuvey, tried to paddle it for Lewis, but getting in the way was ball, and it's out of play.
You did get frustrated because that kick was exactly what Matthew was talking about, to open it up, and Schoenmakers couldn't hold it.
Left half forward for the Hawks. They lead by a goal at the throw-in. Osborne, third man up again. Put it into the skirmish underneath. Ball spills out to Hodge. Bullets his way clear. Hand pass to Shields. Bounces it up to Franklin. Got through his fingertips. It's gathered by Reid in defence, and he spreads the pies to the southern side. Shaw chases the bouncing ball. White crosses with him, but Shaw is away. He knocked it on and then kicked it on, and it'll reach the 50. Cracker's going to swoop on it. They come at him. Burgoyne. He picked it away from Cracker. Did well. He saves the day for the Hawks, who are still trying to get out. Cracker stayed in. Lays a stern tackle. And they trap it 35 from goal.
Hawthorn have to be clean, because the moment they fumble, the tackle's hitting them.
Yeah, you lose time, don't you?
They have to be very clean with their disposals, Hawthorn.
Every Collingwood supporter thought that was a free kick for the Cracker tackle. Umpire didn't pay it. And now somebody's going to be pinged for being over the ball and not knocking it out. And it's a Hawthorn free kick to Mitchell. It's against Pendlebury.
I wonder if the tactic of the third man up is going to go all night. It's got to be very, very physically sapping for Hawthorn. A, getting up there, and B, having one less at ground level.
And after a while, Collingwood will pick it off.
Murphy has it again after a short pass by Guerra. They're going for these short passes. Schoenmakers has looked just a little bit shaky, though. No mark. It comes to Swan. Hand pass to Johnson. Johnson back to Swan. Schoenmakers not a wake up to it. Kick by Swan from near the boundary. He doesn't miss by a long way. It's a behind away to the right-hand side. And Collingwood 2 behinds trail Hawthorn 1-1. And we've been playing 12 minutes.
Yeah, both sides are turning the ball over a little bit by hand and foot. But the pressure's there.
Guerra on the kick in. Up the middle for Isaac Smith. Found a little pocket of space. Out with a hand pass to Gibson, and he goes back to Guerra. They haven't covered much territory. Guerra to half back with a kick. Hale into the pack. Reid the other way. When he puts his fist on it, it stays hit. It's out of play. Pack will form up at right half forward for the Pies. 12 and a half on the clock at the throw-in. Hale brings it down to the front. Dale Thomas is into the action, but his kick is poor. And it flops in short, marked by Schoenmakers. Hand pass untidy. Guerra's got to go. They hit him. Great tackle from Cloak. Wins holding the ball. And the moment to escape passes for Hawthorn.
He's probably, I shouldn't say he's too far. 50.
Guerra over the mark.
Yeah, he didn't come back.
Cloak had his heels in the gutter. He was 60 metres out, outside the boundary line, and now we go right to the tip of the goal square.
Well, he's obviously asked him to come back. That's where Guerra's, he either hasn't heard. So he's told him, you can see the umpire in vision, he's told Guerra about 3 or 4 times to come back, and he hasn't.
That's the undisciplined stuff that I...
Can I say something about that, though?
Yeah, please.
Cloak gets the goal. Collingwood's first. They lead 1-2 to 1-1.
I reckon when the umpire's standing behind you and you're in a big crowd and there's a lot of noise, and all right, he might be yelling at him, why don't you walk up to the player? It's another 2 steps. Why don't you walk up to the player and say, hey, son, come back a metre?
Because he was on crowd side too.
Yeah.
Not far from the boundary line.
Yeah.
Maybe had to get into his face a little bit more.
I think he needed to come up and talk to him and say, come back. But I understand why he paid it.
I'll stand corrected.
No.
Yeah, this isn't park football with car horns. This is a big crowd making a lot of noise.
They got into a mess on the way out, though, the Hawks. Emphasising Matthew Knight's point, whenever they fumble or are just a little unsure with their disposal, the Pies have got them. So Cloak has his first. The bounce was outside the circles. It was allowed to stand and Hodge was taken high. Hawks to bring it forward to the middle. Kick goes to Rioli. Has a look to half-forward. Franklin's on the lead for the coverage coming back as Luke Ball. And he takes the intercepting mark.
Gee, there was a lot of courage in that. Shown it all his career. Ball just inside defensive 50. Pokes it out wide and Cracker takes the mark. Right half-back flank. He's taken the mark of the year this year. Boosted his bank balance as a result. Marked by Jolly up on centre wing. Hand pass to Wellingham. He kicks to a one-on-one contest. Over the top goes Dawes, but no mark. The rover is Cloak. He gathers. Left foot snap is away to the right-hand side and bounces through for a minor score. And the Pies go to 1-3, leading the Hawks 1-1.
Dawes and Cloak look ominous at this early stage. There's too much football going inside 50 and they're getting a jump at the footy. So they're just going to have to tighten up on those two big men for the Collingwood team.
Wirra plays onto himself in the back pocket and boots it as far as he can. Jolly was pushed underneath it. It was pretty unscientific from Bailey. Gives up the cheap free kick.
I think Jolly's on top too.
Right half forward. Absolutely unsure what to do, but now he's going to loft it to the hot spot and see if they can get a jumper. Swan into the pack. In front is Dawes, and he has been paid the mark.
You can talk as long as you like about, having a team defence that works in that. But if you haven't got one, and Hawthorn haven't had it since Crode left, you haven't got one high ball, athletic killer, then those marks are taken. He should never have got. He got a second access to the ball, not just one. It bounced forward, he's able to swallow it. But you've got to be able to defend that, get a second play on it.
Chris Dawes trying to escape his demons here. 30 out, directly in front. Needs a goal, has a goal. It'll be good for his confidence because he is threatening. Cloak and Dawes share the first couple for the Pies. 2-3 to 1-1.
It's a similar thing that worried them against Geelong. The big players up in their forward line, they just struggled to defend it. They got away with it against Sydney. Sydney didn't use it as well, and they didn't have the quality of these two guys.
Well, we call that a bomb. Jolly's just kicked it as high up and put it 20 metres, 25 metres out for goal. So even if it was defended, there'd be a second play on it. It was a deliberate long bomb, knowing that the player on the end of it's going to give you a great contest. He's either going to mark it, which he did, or it has to be defended violently by the opposition. Gibson couldn't even get to that, get a hand as he did last week.
He had 21 spoils last week, Gibson. He needed one then. It's won by Bailey in the middle for the Hawks. Chopped off by Pendlebury. Gets the hand pass away to Ball, who floats one over the top. Here's Davis off half-back. He kicks to half-forward. Pack gathers. Punch to the front. Past Bailey it goes. Hitting it at pace side-bottom for the Pies. Gets his hand pass into Dawes, who's causing plenty of problems. But it spills to Burgoyne, to Lewis. And Hawthorn get out. Through Mitchell. On the lead, Hale, but he can't take the mark. Swept up behind by Harry O'Brien. To Davis. Davis, beautiful looking drop, punt to half forward. Dawes again. Slips off his fingernails and goes over the boundary line about 60 metres from goal. Collingwood 2-3-15. Lead Hawthorn 1-1-7. And we've played nearly 18 minutes in the first quarter.
The difficulty for Gibson, he does not know which way it's going. Is it going to Cloak, going to Dawes, or it's going to Brown? It's very difficult for him this week.
At the throw-in, gathered underfoot by Pendlebury, got it inside the 50. Oh, brave was Birchall. He took all manner of contact high to get himself over that ball. And he comes up with the free kick. Out across the face of goal for Murphy. Hand pass over the top to Gibson. Gibson's got to find a target round the broadcast side. The most likely is Whitecross. He marks against Shaw. He's got a couple working inboard for him. Lewis the most prominent on the logo. The Hawks are nutting this out down the field. 25-metre kick to Osborne. Out on the left boot for Hale. He's 55 away from the target. Hale shorter still. Didn't find a target this time. And Leon Davis. It fell perfectly for him.
Oh, Leon. In the Rugby World Cup, Australia 55-5 against the United States. And in the NRL, it is Manly 6-0 over Brisbane. The ball out of play in the back pocket as Collingwood were trying to bring it out. And
was that Burgoyne who defended that? It was a terrific effort.
In the ruck comes to Wellingham. He hand passes back into a pack. Cracker helping out the defence. Back to Johnson. He loses it, but Tarrant gathers. Hand pass to side bottom. Kicks outside the 50. Blair is there. Can't take the mark and is crunched over the neck by Stratton and will take a free kick. Blair at half-back for the Pies, who lead 15-7, 19 and a half gone first quarter.
Drew, what are the inside 50s?
They are 13-9 Collingwood.
Yeah, but I think percentage of time that ball's spinning in Collingwood's front half would have to be much more.
Pies are coming across the face of goal, and Leon Davis has kicked it out on the full. A rare error off the boots.
Build him up too early, Jared, before the game. Build him up.
Sunk him like a stone, David. Chance Bateman has the ball. He will be in the gutter and every bit of 65 away from goal. So the numbers have headed deep to the square to contest. Franklin's on the lead and chopping across the front is Mitchell. Deep in the pockets.
Not a goal kicker really, Mitch, but that was a nice kick by Bateman.
11 goals, 8 this season for the former skipper.
He's not a prolific goal kicker, is he? From set play shots for whatever reason.
Gets about 1 goal every 4 games.
It's as difficult as it could be. Mitchell runs around. He's kicked it out across the face of goal. And there's nobody there for the Hawks. And this is going to be costly. Jolly has marked, played on immediately to Pendlebury. Cleared the defensive area for Dawes.
We'll have to hold here because there was nothing on up the ground.
Dawes has had 2 shots at goal, but here he is on the defensive 50. Kicks long towards the wing. Gibson's up for the spoil. This time it comes back to him. He almost could have claimed the mark. He plays on. Collingwood tackling fiercely and holding the ball. They win the free kick. Pendlebury. It comes back to a side bottom. Centre wing. Massive scene here at the MCG. He goes for the short pass into Ben Johnson, who marks just behind the logo. Pies 2 goals 3. The Hawks 1-1. Johnson goes out wide, as Collingwood so often do. Ball drops one close to his bootlaces, then recovers, then kicks it out of bounds. So they hug the boundary too tight then. And have given up the free kick.
Well, they will do that, Collingwood, because they do play down the line.
The kick goes backward to Birchall. Dinks it to the 50 for Gibson. Marked, and with his opponent cloak overcommitting, he ducked underneath, played on and delivers it out for Hale. In front of him was Ball. Hale not only missed the mark, but then he dragged Ball down, and he's been penalised for the high contact.
No influence on the game yet by Rioli or Franklin. I wouldn't have thought they've had it much.
No, they haven't, and I think one of the upsetting for Hawthorn people, 30-23 contested possession in Collingwood's favour.
Luke Ball better with the kick this time. Cloak hit the pack hard, jarred it free. Blair's underneath, swings it up to half forward. Gibson in front of Dawes though, and the Hawks have the footing. Seagulls are starting to mass.
Get the Eagles out there.
Yeah, into the back pocket. Schoenmakers risky across the face of goal, but successfully completed for Guerra. He is on the behind line though, and the margin for error is 0. Short for Bateman. Same assignment for him. Inboard, he's missed. Gibson won't be costly initially. Stratton gets there to save the day, and he blasts it out. Needs Lewis against Jolly. Jolly got his hands to it, but Lewis comes up with it. Hand pass to Rioli. The Hawks are on the break at last. Hale's free in the 50. And he can take the deliberate shot at goal.
Some very good usage there, wasn't there? Thoughtful kicks. I mean, good leading into space, but great kick by Rioli, putting Hale, further forward into that space right in front. Some good usage on the way back out when they're under severe pressure, just on their 50, on the defensive 50, the Hawks. So a good team cooperative effort there.
They've taken
Lewis is having a pearler. 8 touches and a goal already.
They've taken most of the quarter to set up such an attacking move. They need a dividend from it. David Hale, 40 metres out, jabs at it. It's right. It's a miss. 1-2-8 the Hawks, 2-3-15 the Pies.
Bad miss.
Melbourne Cricket Club refused to pay the bill to the people who bought the birds in the rain. They won't be. Somebody you would refuse, wouldn't you, or get a refund?
They should ban hot chips at the footy.
Put them outside.
Kick into Johnson. Back he goes to Davison. He's kicked it just about out of bounds. It pitched just inside the line and bounced out for a throw in at half-back for Collingwood. So their plan of using all of the ground just looking a bit shaky. A couple of kicks out of bounds on the full and a couple of close ones at the throw-in. Knocked down to Smith of Hawthorn. A high ball. 35 out from goal. Untroubled is Maxwell to hug a chest mark. Plays on quickly, squaring the ball across to Shaw. Kick by Heath Shaw. Looks as though he hasn't missed a beat after being suspended for those 8 matches. Thomas is in there and is taken high by Burgoyne. He had his head over the ball. Burgoyne charged at him and got him with his shins just about to the head. Thomas breaks away, beats a man, hand pass to Shaw, underground hand pass to Ball, back to Shaw, who bunts the ball out. This is great stuff by the Pies, and a kick just about out of bounds by Pendlebury. It landed millimetres inside the line.
It's fascinating watch Collingwood play it. They play on the line, inside the line, or just outside the line. You know, it's fantastic.
Right half forward is where they got it to. At the throw-in, Brown and Bailey comes to the front of the pack. Burgoyne is in pursuit. Blair works him off it and wins the pill himself. Swings it up to full forward. Nobody home. It falls for Murphy. He'll kick across the face of goal to Gibson. And he can have a bit of a dash through the defensive 50. He chose not to. He brought it back inboard and nearly missed Hodge. He does take the mark. All jarred out of his hands, but no need for a 50.
It's only his 3rd touch, Hodge.
Hodge for Birchall. And Birchall uses it wider still for Smith. At half-back, Smith tries for the perfect pass and pulls it off to reach the logo for Birchall. Pumps the hand pass to Mitchell inside the 50. Puopolo's in front of Davis. Davis up over the top to make the aerial spoil, but illegally. In the estimation of the umpire, he impeded Puopolo. I can't see that myself, but anyway.
That's very harsh on Leon.
The only superior, their usage with foot, Hawthorn is significantly better at this point than Collingwood.
Paul Puopolo wide out but within range from 45. He is a goal kicker. It's out across the face. It's a behind. It's the Hawks it's the Pies by 6. Kelly Underwood, got anything down there?
Jared, the Pies bench for the last few minutes has been down to just 2. Ben Reid is in the rooms.
Well, that's significant, isn't it? No?
Yeah.
That is significant because he was a boy who came in under groin, was it, or something?
A groin problem,
yeah. So.
Hawthorn, the underdog, taking it up to the reigning premiers and minor premiers. The kick by Davis, a big leap by Dawes, but he's given up the free kick as he jumped all over Hale.
Well, you wouldn't be happy if you were Mick jumping up like that. Unrealistic attempt.
Kick by Hale, forward pocket, Puopolo, no height against Maxwell. Maxwell hands to the ball and sees it over the boundary line for safety.
Well, Reid's a big loss if he's off.
Yes.
It forces O'Brien and maybe Maxwell to play a more defensive type game.
Throw in 40 metres from the Hawks' goal. Bailey knocks it down the front to Shields. Over his head with a hand pass back to Bailey, and the ruckman has a ping for goal. Standing start off the left. He misses to the left-hand side. But this is a contest, all right. 5 points the margin only. The Pies 2-3 to 1-4.
Leon Davis plays on from the kick in. He spent it well. He bounced it out to Johnson. Hand passes it into Beams. Works it on to Swan to penetrate half back. Swan has a bounce. Runs away from Mitchell. Got a Shepherd as well. Brings it inboard to Ball and they threaten to go end to end. Ball took too long. Lewis got him. Hand pass it away though to Cracker. Tried to sell the dummy. Unsuccessful on this occasion. And his kick is picked off by Burgoyne.
Those inside 50s are now 16 to 14, so they've evened up a little bit. The Hawks have come back. Shields a kick out towards the boundary line. Whitecross has it. He kicks an ugly looking kick off the left, down the line short of half forward. It takes a leg break and goes over the boundary line, beating Maxwell. And the boundary umpire right there to throw the ball in. Hawthorn 2-3-15, rather Collingwood 2-3-15, Hawthorn 1-4-10. 28 minutes played. At the boundary throw-in, Hale wins the hit-out. Comes to side bottom, who's caught by Lewis and stood up in the tackle, and the umpire will bounce. The umpies tonight, Brett Rosebery, Simon Meredith and Sean Ryan.
Late in the opening term. Third man up, Hodge won it down to Sewell inside the 50. Maxwell didn't quite trap it. Franklin fumbled, got it back. Hand pass to Puopolo. He's going to beat the siren. Must kick it. Does. The Hawks get it right on the bell of quarter time. Puopolo with their second. And they claim the lead with the siren pealing. 2-4-16 Hawthorn, 2-3-15 Collingwood. Puopolo and Lewis the goals for the Hawks. Dawes and Cloak for the Pies. It has been a contest through the opening half hour, and it's all unfolding on Grandstand AFL here on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Grandstand AFL.
Harry O'Brien gets into the tackle. It's Bills to Reid, whose hand pass is taken by Lewis. He snaps to a vacant goal square. It pitches, bounces and gets through for the goal. First goal of the prelim to Jordan Lewis for the Hawks.
No, I shouldn't say it's too far. 50.
Guerra over the mark.
Yeah, he didn't come back.
Cloak had his heels in the gutter. He was 60 metres out, outside the boundary line, and now we go right to the tip of the goal square.
Collingwood's first. One into the pack. In front is Dawes, and he has been paid the mark. Chris Dawes trying to escape his demons here. 30 out, directly in front. Needs a goal, has a goal. Maxwell didn't quite trap it. Franklin fumbled, got it back. Hand pass to Bullock. No, he's going to beat the siren. Must kick it, does!
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio.
Hawks by a point at quarter time. David Park and Peter Schwab, Matthew Knights.
I might lead off. Matthew made a comment earlier about inside 50s and the dominance at that point, I think, was in Collingwood's favour. It's now back to 15-16. And I think that's been on the back of a significant increase in contested possession. When I looked and called it, it was a 10 difference in Collingwood's favour. It's now back to about 6. I think in that last 10 minutes of that quarter, Hawthorn started to win much more of the contested ball, both at stoppages and in general play. Got it forward with reasonable, competencies, because they do kick the ball, I think, extremely well when given in time and space, although for either side there is not much time and space, to make a decision and get a good execution by hand and foot away. But I thought their work inside Hawthorn just improved at a time when the game was in the balance and it looked like Collingwood had momentum. We're going to start to control the game. Hawthorn rested it back, I thought, in that last 5 or maybe 8 minutes. I'm not sure whether you saw it the same way. And not only achieved ball into, but were able to score 2 well set up goals, remembering that Collingwood only scored 2. One of those was a gimme, was a kick from the boundary line that I think Dawes was going to struggle to get anyway. The 50 took him into he just could not miss that one. So I think my view is that Hawthorn would take a fair degree. They've worked extremely hard. The amount of run and effort at this point has been high. I would have thought high. They'd get to quarter time looking for the break in terms of their fatigue, but they'd be very pleased that they rested back what was a balance, I think, going in Collingwood's favour, and they would know and understand that as we do up here. So a terrific quarter of contest, but with a lot of errors. I would have thought that only a game of this significance, loser gone for the year, has produced a level, even when players are in a position to take time, make good decisions, execution. They really think they're going to be run down, so they start to do things faster, if you like, than they need to. I look, it was a terrific game of footy, or terrific quarter of footy, which has set up at least a reasonably even contest. Not at this stage, I wouldn't think one team was capable of just running away with it.
I would have thought the pressure stakes by both teams was outstanding. The difference, from my point of view, I thought Hawthorn used the ball better. Collingwood jammed it in there on 4 occasions, and Murphy or Gibson actually took chest marks. I actually don't think the Collingwood players realise that they've got the overlap and the extra man happening, and they're smashing it forward, but usually to a Murphy or a Gibson, and then Hawthorn are counter-attacking with interest. On the flip side, I think Hawthorn have really taken their risks with their feet. They've hit some good targets in the corridor, and I think it's set up a couple of nice moves for them. So Hawthorn are using the ball better. I think Collingwood are comparable with Hawthorn in pressure and effort, but I would say at this stage Hawthorn are a bit more poised and a bit more precise.
Well, they're certainly kicking the ball. They've had more kicks than Collingwood, and that's a significant stat. They're kicking it shorter, but I agree with you, they're kicking it better. Collingwood have played the line a lot and they haven't got a lot of reward for it. Hawthorn have been prepared to open it up a little bit more with their kicking. Everything else is round about the mark. Contested possessions, Collingwood slightly, which I think leads to my view that Collingwood's going to up the ante a bit more with their pressure. But I must admit, I agree with both of you that after probably Collingwood's dominance, arguably, for 20 minutes, the last 10 certainly went Hawthorn's way. Cloak and Dawes, I think Dawes has been good. I haven't seen a lot of Cloak. Jolly was good in the ruck. Bailey fought back. And Franklin Rioli both did a couple of clever things. So the game's in the balance.
So let's find out about Ben Reid, Kelly.
Plenty of intrigue down here surrounding Ben Reid. He came off about the 25-minute mark, straight down the race into the medical rooms. Of course, he missed the quarter-final with what the club said was a groin injury. It is believed to be a hamstring, and he's just emerged from the rooms with his right hamstring strapped. Just doing a couple of run-throughs. There are a couple of zigzags there. It looks like he's going to have a second crack at this, but clearly troubled by what is, I would believe, to be a hamstring injury. And Alan Didak spent that quarter-time break warming up. Of course, he's the sub tonight. Ben Reid to start this second quarter on the bench.
Yeah, Didak itching to come on. Well, Hawthorn's short kicking and marking game, exemplified by the stats, they've had 65 kicks to 49 and they've outmarked Collingwood 36 to 19, which is remarkable. They evened up the inside 50s at 16 to 15 in favour of Collingwood. Contested possessions favour the Pies 34 to 29. Some of the individuals, Leon Davis has had 10. Next best is Luke Ball with 7 possessions. For the Hawks, Lewis has had 8 and plenty of players have had 7.
Hawks by a point, bounce to start the second term. Swan's going to get onto it for the first disposal. He kicked it straight into Ball, but that's okay. Ball was able to gather. Hand pass to Johnson. Brought down by Franklin, who's in the middle, tackling vigorously. And the pack forms to be bounced.
In the Rugby World Cup, Australia leading the United States 67 to 5, and in the NRL, just about looks all over. Manly 16-0 over Brisbane.
Swan gets another look at this clearance. He fails. He dropped the ball in the tackle, and the Hawks are going to go. Mitchell up to Franklin. Marks, turns, plays on. They're all drawn to him. Hand passes it back to Mitchell, up to the 50. Rioli drifts into Mutt.
See, they did that well in protection of each other, didn't they? And drawing and Shepherd and getting the space. And Franklin came back and gave it again to Mitchell, and Mitchell chopped it over the top to Rioli with some very good usage, really good foot usage from the Hawthorn Footy Club.
Cyril Rioli faced with a difficult task that he's just as likely to relish. From the boundary and every bit of 50, he sets it up at goal. It won't quite get there. It clears the pack and rolls away out of play.
Oh, Hale will be annoyed because that was falling straight for him, and I don't know how he missed it, to be honest.
Clean bowled him.
The throw in alongside the behind post. Hawks in attack. It's knocked to the front, close to goal. Davis slides in, works it to Pendlebury. You're in trouble. He loses it in Sewell's tackle. They pile in on top, and the umpire will call for the stoppage right in front and about 15 metres from goal.
Was there a lessening of the third man up in that last part too? I thought they had more in these stoppages. Less blokes going up as third man goes up then.
Lewis gets to this one. Shields underneath. Knocked out by Jolly. Comes to O'Brien. He's kicked it backwards and cross. Trouble for Swan, but he's good enough. Outnumbered 2-1. Dane Swan, a terrific mark.
Gives the hand pass round the back to Davis. Runs through the defensive goal square. Couple of bounces, pulls up, comebacks the other way. And Swan is now jammed against the behind post. Pendlebury works for him. Takes it on the half volley. Hand pass to Swan. Very untidy from Collingwood, but they'll get out. Hand pass to Pendlebury, who opens up with a bounce. Gives it to Swan. They're playing their own game, these two. Swan to Pendlebury again. They've mucked it up. They deserve no better. Sewell to Hale to Franklin in a tackle from Brown. Round and round he goes. Not penalised. Held to him as the call. It'll be bounced quickly away from the Hawks goal.
Well, they did it all right, but that was the last handball that by Swan that wasn't good enough.
I thought they were supposed to be a long kicking team. Jolly over the top, wins the hit out, but it comes to Franklin. He's tackled again. He's had only a couple of touches. Gets it to Shields, who's taken the ground just inside the 50. Pushed in the backs of the umpire. Free kick to Shields. Right in front, 50 from goal.
Started well, Hawthorn.
Yeah, I've got to say, they're getting a bit of a sniff, aren't they?
Yeah, their confidence is up.
They are. They're taking the lead. They are making the risks, making the play, and Collingwood have been quite slow to react, slow with their decision-making, caught with the ball.
Shields, the hand pass to Hodge, and the umpire says, no, you can't do that.
He ran in front of the player with the ball across him to receive a hand pass.
Guerra's hovering just behind him by a metre.
Shields worried about the distance, looking to give it off. He does give it off, and a hard lead by Hale, but he can't take the mark. Swept up by Sidebottom. Gets the hand pass through Pendlebury and onto Johnson. Now to Thomas, who might be just a little bit rusty. Thomas's kick goes nowhere. Chopped off by Smith of Hawthorn. Back to full forward. Jolly punches in defence. Hawthorn swarming here and putting the Premiers under pressure. Cracker slides in and gets a free kick for the tackle against Sewell on defensive 50. They needed that breather.
They do, and Hawthorn's forward pressure is very good.
Cracker up the ball, turns to use it quickly off the wing, cloaks his target, he's in front of Gibson. Gibson came late, probably unnecessarily pushed Cloak in the back because he wasn't marking that ball.
Get ready on the top of the goal square, it's coming.
2 kicks out from goal. Dawes wants it deep. Brown is massed there as well. So the timber is back and Cloak has to put it in. He kicks it out into the pocket. Dawes up. No mark. Brown down. He has a fumble. Schoenmakers came through the pack to Sewell to Mitchell. Mitchell decides to kick and he does it well for Gibson.
No addition to the quarter time score. It's 16-15 Hawthorn after 4.5 entertaining minutes at the start of the quarter. It comes into Smith of Hawthorn. He gives an awkward hand pass, puts Gibson under the hammer. He's thrown to ground, loses the ball. Spills to Swan. Little hand pass to Dawes. He goes out wide to Johnson. His hand pass is blocked by Stratton. The ball close to the boundary line, 60 from goal. Swan has it, and there's going to be a push here. And a free kick goes to Collingwood against Stratton and goes to Johnson. 55 out. Ben Johnson on the left. Bang! Right to the goal line. Jolly is there. Got a good score by Bailey, and he rushes her behind. And the scores are level at 2-4 apiece after 5.5 minutes of the second quarter.
Kelly Underwood.
Ben Reid's going to take a gamble with his injured hamstring back on the ground, but he's got the right hammy strapped.
So it's an all or nothing gamble now. If it goes, his season will be over. Birchall has to play on under pressure from Blair on the kick in. Long, he was left with no other option. Harry O'Brien makes the spoil back into Collingwood territory. Swan gathers 50 out from goal, turns himself onto the right boot, chips it short for Pendlebury.
Well, he and Pendlebury are really racking up the stats, but they are also running hard. And as good as Hawthorn's pressure's been, they need to maintain it to stay in the game.
Swan's out of the most of anybody.
Probably just haven't hurt Hawthorn yet, have they? There've been a lot of choppy disposals and
it's coming though, I reckon.
Not a lot of penetration.
Pendlebury's decided to have a ping here from the juncture of 50 in the boundary out to the right. Will take his best. Pendlebury gives it a pretty good look. It's near side all the way. A behind, Collingwood lead by that score.
It's 2 behinds to Scott Pendlebury. Low scoring, and Johnson's going to come for some treatment. He's got blood streaming from a cut over his left eye in that clash with Stratton.
You reckon it might open up because the pressure and the run and the work rate's been so high. You'd think we're 7 minutes into the second quarter and we've scored 4 goals. It ain't going to stay like that, I don't think, not with these two sides playing.
No, you're right.
Swan to the bench as well with 12 touches. Guerra to kick in for the Hawks from the punt road end. He gets it to the 50 to Lewis, but the spoil put on by Cloak, who follows up with a smashing tackle, but it spills here to Osborne of the Hawks, who runs down the corridor, shares the ball, gets it back, puts it out in front of Rioli, who runs onto it 55 out. A long shot for goal, coast to coast Hawthorn, but he missed it to the left-hand side. Scores level again at 2-5 apiece.
Go on, no, we've got the Lewis-Mitchell hand pass.
No, coming down the middle.
Go on, your side.
Davis finds his target. O'Brien on the kick in, out around the wing. Wellingham dropped the mark and the numbers will beat him. Hale's hand pass was loose. Lewis got it in the back. No free kick. Smith is onto it. Hawks back inside the 50. Rioli gets a second look and he spends it beautifully to the top of the goal square where Whitecross is camped.
Well, you can talk about as much as you like, but the foot disposal of Hawthorn, I know they set the previous forward movement up with some great quick hands, but their vision to see and kick the ball so accurately in that range between 25 and sort of 40 metres has been superb.
And it was the pace of Smith too.
Brendan Whitecross, close in, no angle, he's jabbed at it, he's missed left. That is a costly error because Rioli had every right to go himself. Unselfishly, he put Whitecross in the game and he really should have been able to close that out. The Hawks by a point.
I think Hawthorn's pressure has been superb, and I think that takes away from the Collingwood's fluency at the moment. They're doing a marvellous job of turning Collingwood over.
The Hawks 2-6 to 2-5. Davis kicks to himself and then gets it outside the 50 to Beams, who is outmarked by Lewis. Lewis takes the kick quickly into Sewell, who's 55 metres from goal. Putting plenty of pressure on Hawthorn. The kick by Sewell down to the pocket. Franklin works to the front and takes the mark overhead. He got rid of Tarrant.
Tarrant needed help then. He was looking for the third man in. He just didn't get it. He's always going to be in trouble in a one-on-one with Franklin because of the height difference.
Well, that is a worry because it did stay. It wasn't a direct kick to him. It was a sit-up kick, wasn't it? You would have thought 3 or 4 could have got there, but they were also concerned about their own blokes. Fantastic effort.
Well, everybody else has been spraying them for Hawthorn. Surely not Buddy. The leading goal kicker of the season. He's close in, just 15 out, and he gets the goal. And Hawthorn are a dead-set threat here tonight. 3-6 to 2 goals 5.
Well, Whitecross can thank his lucky stars, can't he? Because it didn't get out any further than the 50-metre mark to come back in again, and they converted this time what he should have converted the first time. But it's still costly. Whitecross missing as he did then could have put the whole team in the game in jeopardy. Buddy's effort to get rid of Tarrant was only as Buddy can do. I think it was legal, etc. And no doubt about that. And it was a good, strong mark as Buddy does coming forward without jumping at great height.
I think it was just his quick feet. Tarrant was feeling for the body, quick feet around the front, and then he extended his arms. Just too much for Tarrant.
Well, the Rioli and Buddy are going pretty well as a group, right?
Hawks by 7 in the middle. Bailey got first touch on it, but Swan is moving through for the Pies, and he blasts them inside the 50. Cloak spoil made by Gibson. It's on underfoot. Burgoyne had it, lost it. Cloak wins it back. Kicks near full forward. Brown spoiled. Dawes is the crummer. Bought the first hand pass. Probably wishes he'd given it. All the pressure came and he's been overwhelmed by it. Schoenmakers through Hodge. And now out to Smith via Stratton. They kick around the southern wing. Hale takes the bouncing ball. Gives a bit of ground to Birchall. Down the line he goes. Puopolo is motoring. Takes the mark and flicks it on instantaneously. Bateman's kick was a mongrel. Mitchell is spoiled front on by Whitecross. And the Pies get the ball by virtue of the free kick.
Yeah, they're just they're struggling at the moment, Collingwood.
Gee, Bateman's kick let them down badly.
It didn't. It was a shin kick. It just went straight up in the air.
So Maxwell across to Davis, who kicks over the wing, close to the boundary line again, and Cloak marks a cigarette paper inside the boundary line. Great Southern stand side.
They just play the line, don't they? Cloak will go down the line and create a stoppage.
Raking left foot kick, gets it inside the 50. Punch to the front, comes to Wellingham. Wasn't that it enough? Diving in Burgoyne, he loses it to Beams. Tangle of arms and legs. Smith for Hawthorn, taken to ground. And the umpire has no alternative but to call for it to bounce it. Entertaining stuff. Hawthorn 3-6 to Collingwood, 2 goals 5. We played 12 minutes of the second quarter.
Magpies in attack at the bounce. Bailey knocks it down to Hodge, kicked off a step. High ball, 5-man pack converges. Davis waited at the back, Puopolo at the front. It bounced for Puopolo. He's brought down by Tarrant. He released the footy to Franklin. Turns himself out of trouble and boots it down the line. Maxwell, though, the spoil. He works it around with Leon Davis, can run the boundary. Kick down the line. It's just a free kick in the back play going Collingwood's way. So Wellingham's ball at half forward. He'll go in the Cloak direction. Beautiful mark. Hit the pack like the ominous figure that he has become this season. And outmarks 3 opponents.
Great grab, and shows he can do it because he was 1 on 3 there.
Oh, that was superb.
Needs to finish, doesn't
better than my auntie Sylvana's lasagna. That was. It was just an unbelievable, unbelievable one.
It's the first time I've heard that quote all year.
Well, it was a gem, wasn't it? Absolute gem in the middle of a huge pack.
Cloak on the 45-degree angle. Let's fly from 40. The kick is very poor. Out across the face of goal and off hands away 15 metres from the behind post out of play.
Well, Auntie Sil would have been very upset about the kick on the end of that lovely lasagna. I can tell you.
Favoured his left foot. It wasn't a great effort.
Terrible kick. Terrible.
Both sides have had some misses. Throw in the forward pocket. Birchall, the third man up. And a free kick here to Hawthorn.
It is. I mean, he's on top, Bailey. He's been really good round the stoppages with his hit-outs.
Bailey, little hand pass to Hodge, stationary. And barely a 15-metre pass to Burgoyne, still deep inside defensive 50.
It was about 13 and a half, wasn't it?
Yeah. Gets a good shepherd. Man on the mark, Brown, didn't get anywhere near him. And another short pass finds Mitchell. Still at half-back. Another short pass finds Sewell. How long can they keep it up? He goes longer. Half-back to half-forward. Lewis is there. But a good punch away by Shaw. It might come back to Lewis, and does. Hand pass lightning fast to Hodge, who couldn't gather. Taken by Wellingham of Collingwood. To Ball. Gets the hand pass to Pendlebury, who's been magnificent. He kicks to half-forward. Dawes. And a big leap over the top by Gibson. It wasn't a spoil, but he just got his hand to the ball and worked it down to his teammates' advantage, Schoenmakers, who comes out wide and finds Bailey.
He kicked it to Mitchell, who dropped the mark. He's under pressure. He works his way out of it, though. Hand passes back to Bailey, gets it back. Mitchell's kick goes nowhere. Bailey's got to fight on at ground level. He dived on it, but he does release it. Pendlebury, same task for him. Ugly pack balls. A bounce. Kelly Underwood is on the boundary.
Ben Johnson has come back on. He's been patched up, so he's got the strapping around his head, and I'm keeping a close eye on Ben Reid. I haven't seen him sprint yet. He's really struggling to get into the game.
Broadcast wing. Hawks by 7 points, middle stages of the second term. Hodge, beautiful third man up movement. Down to Mitchell, whose hand pass is smothered by Reid. The Pies get a second look. Johnson didn't do a lot with it, and Mitchell's been held without it. The Hawks forward of halfway.
He's had 10 superb minutes, hasn't he, Mitchell? Mitchell's been very, very influential.
Goes for the short pass to Bateman. And the man on the mark has shepherded off again. Bateman's kick inside the 50. Franklin stands his ground. Tarrant over the top. Punches down to Pendlebury. Hand pass out the back door to Davis. Bit of wizardry. Gets clear. Kicks over half-back. Cloak well up the ground, but this time he can't mark. Spills to Whitecross of Hawthorn. A high ball towards the 50. Punch down to the front. Vital possession here. Smith taken to ground, and the umpire says, that's a stoppage. I'll ball it up again. This is great. Hawthorn 24, Collingwood 17. We played 16 minutes in the second quarter.
At some stage, Collingwood have got to take some risks with their foot skills.
Half forward for the Hawks. Lewis won the tap. Maxwell off the ground, gave it straight up. Murphy to Sewell, kick smothered by Ball. It spills up to the 50. Wellingham under pressure. Worked it to Pendlebury. Now to Johnson. Out to Blair. Hand pass to Cracker. They're nearly out. Cracker's hand pass missed the target in Johnson. Sewell came the other way. He bounces out of the pressure. Puts the Hawks to half forward. Hale with a handy spoil. He'll get it back by virtue of Shields, but they've lost it a moment later. Cracker to O'Brien. There's not a breath in which to move with the pressure mounting on the broadcast wing. Cracker's brought down by Burgoyne, but he did release it to Swan. Now to Ball. Kick to Cloak. They came at him. Stratton took the mark. Gives it to Lewis. Play opens up through the middle. Rioli marks. Fires the hand pass to Birchall. Back to Rioli. Kick to an open forward line. Franklin one-on-one with Tarrant. Tarrant the spoil. Osborne the crumb. Franklin's got it. Goal to the Hawks. It's a moment on which so much could build. They won the arm wrestle. They split it open. They get the goal. It's Hawthorn by 13. 4-6 to 2-5.
What a sequence, you might comment on, but the sequence from out of under duress every time Collingwood gradually forced it out along the boundary line into their back half, and then forced it inch by inch again. Hawthorn on the way back again. It was just, you called it was a real arm tussle, that one.
It just shows you that he still got the goal, even though Tarrant did everything he possibly can. When you spoil, you still keep the ball alive, and he's got great second recovery. He and Rioli have been exciting this quarter. They've been very, very handy players.
And they were always the X factor, weren't they? They both got up and go.
Franklin 2 goals for the night, and he's gone to the bench. Jolly wins the hit out in the middle. It comes to Pendlebury. Now to Thomas, who's been a bit quiet. Back to Pendlebury. Off the left, he kicks to half forward. Cloak in the marking contest, but it's knocked away. Comes to Murphy of Hawthorn. He's caught by Swan. Murphy gets up and wrests the ball back off him. And the umpire says he's going to ball it up. Well, the underdogs are having a real red-hot dip here. Collingwood have won 21 of 23 games this season, but they trail by 13 points. From the stoppage, it comes to Murphy again, no distance. Mitchell in there. Lewis. Dug out by Hodge. They're out in the open now. Guerra gets a little hand pass to Whitecross in the circles. He kicks inside the 50. Puopolo is there. He goes to ground, recovers, gets Reid, but Reid gets the hand pass to Davis. Just as well he turned up for Collingwood, and the kick to half-back flank where the mark's taken by Sidebottom.
Well, the word was rusty used. They just look a bit rusty, Collingwood. They might get out of this, but at the moment they're not looking all that good.
Sidebottom's the long lead of Cloak, defensive side of the middle. They can't institute any fluency just for the time being. Cloak kicks the leather off it to get it up to half forward. Brown didn't mark. He's under pressure. Hand pass to Pendlebury. Hodge tackles him high. Pendlebury's free kick. Right half forward. He's going to give them a chance in the pocket. Swan is on the lead. Stratton makes the spoil. Hale is the crummer, uncomfortably so. He's barraged out of play. 25 from the Collingwood goal.
Collingwood usually play the line quicker than this. They're playing slow line, not quick line. And I think it's because of the Hawthorn extra back that's preventing them from flowing at all.
At the throw-in, comes down to the front. Murphy kicks to the defensive 50. Cloak a little hand pass out to Tuvey, who goes for goal, but he's offline and short. And the mark in defence taken by Burgoyne for the Hawks. The kick outside the 50. A quick exit from defence. It comes to Whitecross. He balks a hand pass and kicks to a vacant forward line. Puopolo the only chance for the Hawks. Harry O'Brien gets back there for the Pies. Galloping away. Has a couple of bounces. Then does a U-turn and kicks the ball back to Davis. Actually opened up the space pretty well. And Leon takes the mark and kicks across the ground. And the mark's taken by Shaw.
Great kick.
It was directed by Harry O'Brien. He reckons, hang on, the game plan is to come down the broadcast side. He did the U-turn, and after a couple of kicks, they've done it perfectly.
Dale Thomas has it at half-back. Again, a stilted kick down the line, and Stratton is able to make the spoil away from Johnson out of play.
I don't know whether it's Hawthorn's good read, but Collingwood seemed to be going the wrong way on the way out all the time.
Well, Harry went the wrong way, didn't he?
Yeah.
Shaw was on here, and he only came back to him. Had to come back earlier. Shaw was down the wing.
Hawks by 13. Bailey got his hand to it in the ruck. Cracker, though, the footy. Extricated it to Brown. Used ball and Wellingham all in the confines of the telephone box. High ball from Johnson. Gets it to half forward. It's a muddling pack, though. Ball spills the way of Beams. He's dispossessed. Schoenmakers to Mitchell. Back into the congestion on the broadcast wing. Bateman hit it hard. Thomas got the worst of it. Tuvey claimed the advantage. Free kick at full forward going to Jolly. Gibson took hold of the jumper with the ball on the way in.
It's always a worry again, height, size.
It was a shame because the assistance was coming in the air. Yeah. He had Hale coming across Gibson.
Hale had the mark.
Yeah, he was hanging on.
Darren Jolly at full forward for Collingwood. They need one. And Jolly pokes it through. Their first of the second term comes after 22 minutes of play. But it reduces the deficit to 7. 3-5-23, chasing Hawthorn 4-6-30.
They got it in there one-on-one because the actual fact was that it was played on to advantage. It's about the only time Collingwood have actually been able to break the play up. I think if they take more risk, don't play the line as much, they'll get more reward. At the moment, I think they're playing safe, and albeit Hawthorn's pressure's enormous. But if this game is going to open up, Collingwood need to back their skill in.
Yeah, look, Peter, it's so habitual, though, that when they opened it up, as they did here before, players were actually on the edge of the square. They don't even take them on. They don't even take that risk. Hawthorn do it all the time, but Collingwood refused it.
Back in the middle. Jolly wins, but it is sharked by Mitchell. Little hand pass away to Hodge. A zooming ball inside the 50. Bounces off Maxwell, but he recovers. Gets the ball out towards Shaw. Here come the Pies on the rebound. The kick by Shaw wide to the wing. Sidebottom takes the mark. 23 minutes played, second quarter. A 7-point lead to the Hawks. Further afield to Shaw. Just forward of the wing. His kick is smothered off the boot. Spills to Mitchell, who has a bit of a fumble. Grabbed by Blair off the deck. A ball inside 50. Dawes. No mark. Schoenmakers works it across to Gibson. Then Stratton. Then Mitchell to Guerra. He's got to be good here. This could be dangerous, but it's a pinpoint pass. And Shields takes the mark. Gets a hand pass to Gibson. Up the corridor. Hale marks near the circles. He's got players running past. Lewis shrugs off a tackle and kicks long to full forward. Franklin against Tarrant. Tarrant got something on it. Davis underneath. Oh, one-handed pick-up by Leon.
And kicks away. He had a bounce onto the right boot. Kick it straight to Rioli, though. He got across the front of Daisy Thomas. Rioli pulls his kick inboard. Lewis, arms chopped by Blair. They got it inside the centre square. Birchall breaks on the broadcast side. Lateral kick goes his way. Loves to play on. Runs to centre half forward. Gives it the lot. Kick to full forward. Hale wrestling with Reed. It's off hands. And through from behind. Hawks by 8.
Wiley Brown would allow Birchall to come back in the corridors beyond me.
Not a great kick by Birchall, though, really. I reckon he need to bring him forward onto the edge of the square, not a defendable ball on the line.
Jolly has it on the 50, goes back to Leon Davis, who marks and comes up for his 19th possession.
He's a loose man. I mean, he's playing well, Leon. He's getting back there, but he's basically playing on his own.
O'Brien over the head of Davis, back to Jolly. Fiddling about with it here. Collingwood, the highest scoring team for the season, the minor premiers. They've been kept to 3 goals close to half time. This is a bit like the Swans and the Eagles from about 6 or 7 years ago. Cloak marks just behind the wing. He kicks up the doors, outnumbered 2-1. Gibson comes over the top, but the punch doesn't go out. Chance for Schoenmakers. Hand pass back to Gibson. On defensive 50 for the Hawks. Off the left he goes. Smith drops a mark he should have taken, but he paddles it to Burgoyne. Back to Smith. Little hand pass in tight. Shields. I was going to say a great pass, but it sailed away from Puopolo, but he gets a second chance on the logo. He loses it. In goes Rioli to win it back. Gets the hand pass to Burgoyne. Burgoyne's kick inside the 50. Franklin puts pressure on from behind. Might help out Hale, but worked to the boundary line by an injured Reed. Hand pass over the top is good. Tuvi's hardly seen it tonight.
He works it around with Pendlebury. Now to O'Brien. Running sideways, bouncing. Hand pass to side bottom. Fires it out to Ball. He's got a couple of steps space and he used it well. Kicks it to Blair. Up at halfway. There were runners in the middle. Instead he guides it down the line to Cracker. Cracker wants to play on. He's kicked it into the man on the mark in Birchall. Gets it back from Bailey and the Hawks survive one. As the half-time siren sounds. And Hawthorn have had the better of it. They've won both quarters and they reach the interval with an 8-point lead. 4-7-31 to Collingwood, 3-5-23. 2 for Franklin, 1 to Lewis and Puopolo. For Collingwood, it's 1 each to Jolly, Dawes and Cloak. Hawthorn by 8 points on Grandstand AFL here on ABC, local radio, news radio and Grandstand Digital. David Parkin, Peter Schwab, Matthew Knights.
Can I just say Blair sums them up? I'll just say this. The way Blair got the football in space, had Jolly on in the corridor and refused to kick it to him and then chipped the little one down the line. I'm telling you, Collingwood, if you don't change the way you're moving the ball and you don't play on and take some risks with your kicking, I reckon you're in a bit of strife.
Would you say, Matthew, I call it habitual behaviour, that they're so ingrained in that method that when they are available, and that's a classic one you point out, Pete, and he was, even if he was partly surrounded, the bloke was about 2'6" next to him. He had to kick the ball reasonably well in the air, and Jolly marks against the big blokes. He was going to take it. And yet I reckon he saw it, and he made a deliberate decision to come out wide again. And to me, that's almost saying, well, this is the game plan. This is the method that we've got to go from here. Despite the fact that he's clear in there, I'm not going to take that risk because there might be a punishment or a criticism for doing it. If they continue to play this way, you're absolutely right. Hawthorn they've planned extremely well to pressurise this kick. And I've not seen so many misses by Collingwood players. I mean, missed players leading up, but they've missed the line. They've kicked it out of bounds on the full. They've gone over the top as players coming at them. At the moment, they look like a very nervous team. And I thought that all the nerves should be with Hawthorn. But they're obviously playing with the freedom that says, well, we've got nothing to lose. We've started anywhere from favourites in this game, and nobody expects too much. Their pressure and commitment has been absolute. The defensive pressure is as good as I've seen from Hawthorn for some time, and they are winning. I hadn't looked at the contested possession on the board there, but I'll be very surprised. Contested possession, Collingwood are in fact a little bit in front if I've read that correctly, but they look terrific in defensive mode. They have put time and pressure now that Collingwood don't know when they are free and can go. They really expect the pressure from Hawthorn, and that's put them in two minds.
I'd be very surprised if there's not an adjustment by the Collingwood ball movement at half-time. Hawthorn defenders and mids are playing to the outside. They're stopping the outside ball. I think they have to have a look at the inside ball and really open up Hawthorn on the other side, because they're playing on the outside. They're doing a wonderful job of doing it. The other thing I throw up is because Collingwood are playing a press/zone, they're not getting the ball back frequently. They might have to look at a man situation to keep this game at an up-tempo pace and speed, to turn it more into a contest situation, which might make the game quicker, which might get it back on their terms. I think they will throw around at half-time whether they go more man and try and get a bit more flow in this contest.
News from other sports. It's full-time in the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand, and the Wallabies for Australia have defeated the United States 67-5. And in the NRL preliminary final, it is Manly at half-time leading Brisbane 16-4.
At the MCG scoreboard, Hawthorn 4-7-31, leading Collingwood 3-5-23. More to come on Grandstand AFL after the latest from the ABC Newsroom with Jim Graham.
Thanks, Jared. The Federal Finance Minister Penny Wong says the government is still working to bring the economy back to surplus next financial year, despite instability on global markets. World stock markets plunged as the World Bank and International Monetary Fund warned urgent action is needed to pull the global economy out of the current crisis. Senator Wong says the domestic economy is not immune to the turbulence on world markets. But she's told ABC News 24 the domestic economy is strong and the government remains committed to a surplus.
We have a plan to get back to surplus. We're determined to get there. We expect to do so. But, I think the Treasurer has made the very sensible observation that obviously these events do make it harder.
The federal government has revised the number of asylum seekers on board one of the 2 asylum seeker boats that was stopped by the Navy overnight. Simon Cullen has more from Parliament House.
The government initially said about 130 people were on board the 2 boats, but now believes the number is closer to 180 because some asylum seekers were below the main deck. The latest arrivals have sparked a political debate about who's to blame. The government says the opposition's refusal to support changes to migration laws has sent the wrong signal to people smugglers. But the coalition's immigration spokesman, Scott Morrison, rejects that.
The reason boats are coming to Australia is because of this government's successive policy failures.
He says the government should recall Parliament if it wants to debate the legislation. But government frontbencher Anthony Albanese has dismissed the idea.
We could have dealt with this legislation yesterday.
The asylum seekers will be taken to Christmas Island. Simon Cullen, ABC News, Canberra.
Lawyers for the man who killed Carl Williams have asked jurors to get inside the head of the gangland boss. Peter Carlyon reports from the Victorian Supreme Court.
The prosecution has urged the jury in Matthew Johnson's murder trial not to compromise by finding him guilty of defensive homicide instead of the murder offence with which he's charged. Johnson has never denied he killed Williams, but has pleaded not guilty to murder on the grounds he was acting out of fear for his own life. In his closing argument, Johnson's lawyer Bill Stewart told the jury Williams was a master manipulator and a hirer of assassins who was probably the most dangerous man to have walked the streets of Melbourne in our times. Mr. Stewart said to understand his client's motivation, jurors must get into the head of Carl Williams. The trial continues. Peter Carlyon, ABC News, Melbourne.
A court in Tasmania has heard a man found to be speeding while disqualified from driving told police he'd just washed his car and wanted to dry it. Adam White was caught travelling at 125 kilometres an hour in an 80 zone on Hobart's Brooker Highway in April. Magistrate Glenn Hay told the father of 2 it was the strangest reason he'd ever heard for driving while disqualified, and it would have been much cheaper to buy a couple of hairdryers. White was given a 28-day suspended jail sentence and placed on a 12-month good behaviour bond. The space agency NASA says large chunks of a defunct satellite will land somewhere on Earth sometime tonight. The agency says most of the bus-sized satellite will burn up as it enters the atmosphere, but more than 20 pieces, weighing about 500 kilograms in total, will crash to Earth. A NASA scientist, Nick Johnson, says it's unlikely anyone will be injured by the satellite.
These 26 components, which we do anticipate will survive all the way down to the surface, will be going at a moderate velocity, typically on the order of tens to hundreds of miles per hour.
At the Rugby World Cup, Australia has thrashed the United States 67 points to 5 in Wellington. Wallabies utility Adam Ashley Cooper scored 3 of Australia's 11 tries. The West Coast Eagles are confident they are well prepared for a tough physical preliminary final against Geelong at the MCG tomorrow. The Cats have enjoyed a week off to prepare for the game, while the Eagles endured a bruising encounter with Carlton last weekend in Perth. Assistant coach Peter Sumich says the physical nature of last week's win has the players well prepared to repeat their win over Geelong from 2 months ago.
We think so. In round 16 we acquitted ourselves very well, so we got no doubt our players are ready to go. And people were talking about last week's game. At the end of the day, I think it's great for us to have a physical game and prior week as well, so we're actually ready to go.
And some of Australia's best rugby league players are in Papua New Guinea to take on the local side. Details from PNG correspondent Liam Fox.
A small but vocal crowd welcomed the Australian Prime Minister's 13 side to Port Moresby. They play PNG on Sunday in Lae on the north coast. The first time the annual match has been held outside the capital. But the coach, Mal Meninga, says the trip is about more than the game.
It's about, having an open mind and realising how important rugby league is up here.
Rugby league is the national sport and locals follow the NRL with near religious fervour. People are expected to travel from across the country for Sunday's game. Liam Fox, ABC News, Port Moresby.
And that's the latest in ABC News.
New from ABC Books, Organic Fruit Growing by best-selling author Annette McFarlane, your complete guide to producing beautiful fruit all year round. Whether you're a novice or experienced gardener, this practical guide makes fruit growing easy, with advice on techniques and methods, plus a complete A to Z of fruit. Organic Fruit Growing book, available now for immediate delivery from ABC Shop Online or from ABC shops, centres and good bookshops.
Grandstand AFL.
Kick by Sewell, down to the pocket. Franklin works to the front and takes the mark overhead. He got rid of Tarrant, the leading goal kicker for the season. He's close in, just 15 out, and he gets the goal. And Hawthorn are a dead set threat here tonight.
Kick to an open forward line. Frankman one-on-one with Tarrant. Tarrant is spoiled. Oz from the crumb. Franklin's got it. Goal to the Hawks. It's a moment on which so much could build. They won the arm wrestle. They split it open. They get the goal. Tooby plays the advantage. Free kick at full forward going to Jolly. Gibson took hold of the jumper. Darren Jolly and full forward for Collingwood. They need one. And Jolly pokes it through.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio.
Half-time on what looks like it might be a tense evening. 4-7-31 Hawthorn leading Collingwood 3-5-23. 4 goals to 3. It's been utterly compelling. Peter Swab, David Parker and Matthew Knight's had a little bit of time to think about it.
Well, we have, but it's the intensity from both sides. But I guess we focus more on Hawthorn because of the, not the unexpected, but it was expected that Collingwood would be the side who'd probably apply the most blowtorch to the game, and I think they've been terrific, Collingwood, in that sense as well, but Hawthorn's matched them. I'd just like to throw at some stage to you the whole thing of the player behind the ball and at what point is who's getting the better benefit, because I think that's what it is in the end. If you've got a player there and they've got a player there, who's actually helping their defenders defend better and who's helping their team run the ball out. Leon's had a lot of the football because he's tended to be the guy who gets back. I want to give Tarrant a tick, actually, because I think he got beaten in a clear one-on-one marking, but he actually won about another 3, although Buddy still claimed the goal out of it. Mitchell's been outstanding, I think, from Hawthorn's point of view. Pendlebury and Swan worked their way back into it early, but as Matthew said, didn't really feel their possessions were that effective. I can't help, but I want to mention Bailey, because I think Bailey's a significant player at the moment. I think his ruck work's been pretty good, and the one thing Jolly does that he can't, though, is go forward, and that's a part of Max Bailey's game he needs to work on. We mentioned Roland Franklin in the first quarter, but I felt both of those players really came into the game. And I just harp on one thing with Collingwood, and I think Matthew's right when he said they have to have a review of their ball movement. If they're going to play down the line, they've got to play quicker. But in the end, I think the side who takes the greatest risk in their ball movement but actually executes better will end up winning the game. And right at the moment, I think Hawthorn's ahead in that area.
And it's interesting, Pete, the only team of the four left who play that way, I think I'm right in saying that, is in fact Collingwood, isn't it? The West Coast choose to do both. Hawthorn have already tonight shown they'll take the risk probably more than the other team because they kick the ball so well. We'll take that angle kick 30, 25, 40 metres into the corridor and release the bloke who's then got all the options going forward. He runs through the corridor. He can go left, right or centre, which you can't if you're going around the boundary. It's limited and it's predictable to the defence when they do. I think Geelong are the same. Geelong are the fastest play-on team, I think, from any position on the ground in the competition right now, and they prefer to use the corridor than the outside. So this is one time that we must give the coaching panel, Alistair, and the other coaches at Hawthorn a big tick to this point on their planning for this, the way they've set it up, the way the players adhered to the push on the outside has put terrible pressure on them. And I think you made a comment, I think, Matthew, off air there about Hawthorn looking more, I think, what were your words? It was a great statement I thought you made, looking more comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah, I just feel that they're instinctive. They're comfortable in their ball movement. They're defending and scrambling beautifully. Collingwood seem disjointed. They seem a little bit jumpy with their ball movement, the disposal. And there's been a number of times tonight where Collingwood have nearly been through the maze and then their final disposal has tripped them up. It's either been a poor one that's hit the ground or it's been a smother by a Hawthorn player because of a bad execution by a Collingwood player. So Hawthorn seem to be in a really instinctive frame of mind, both offensively, defensively. Collingwood seem stagnant, hesitant, which is really unlike Collingwood. You don't see Collingwood playing in this manner very often. So credit to Hawthorn because their pressure is great. They're going to have to keep the pressure through the roof to keep Collingwood on their heels. But I think there will be a shift in this Collingwood movement in the second half. I think they'll take more risks and I think they might go more man-on-man defensively. I saw it a number of years ago in a final against Adelaide. They were playing press and zone and then they went to man late and they absolutely smashed Adelaide to smithereens. I'll be interested to see how early it happens. Whether they go man specific and try and provide a contest and work off that contest.
They have to get a heck of a lot more. I mean, you haven't used Didac and that's going to happen for sure. Brown has struggled like we suggested he had before the game. Beams has also been struggling. Tarrant's done a reasonable job. Reid has got that injury and has not been able to play with the athleticism that we know we can. Daisy Thomas has been double and triple handling and made some very poor decisions, I reckon. And then a couple of his kicks were just to nowhere. One that went to Cloak, and Cloak I didn't think actually sort of gave up on the kick. It wasn't all that good to him, so he didn't go on with it. A bit disgusted by what we see. And Maxwell's another that to me, hasn't played a great amount of football with great precision over the last 2 months, and he's looking a little, not so much shaky, but not his confident self, and I think he's very important in this makeup.
You like a theory? I'm just doing a little stats thing here. There's and I haven't got one of them, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major ones that I think who's ever in front at the end of the game will win it. And in those, in all of those, Hawthorn are in front. So if Collingwood end up winning, I want to see where it sits. So it's the disposal count, the kick count, the inside 50s, the conversion, inside 50 marks, the spread of goal kickers and the scoring shots, and then I'm having a look at contested and clearances. The one area that Collingwood's probably, and that could be arguably because they're chasing maybe a bit more, they're in front in the contested ball.
And Nida, we did see Collingwood turn it around noticeably one game this year when Adelaide had them beaten for about 3 and a bit quarters, and then Collingwood kicked about 11 goals in 15 minutes.
I'm not writing them off, Drew, by any
remarkable.
stretch, but Hawthorn have to maintain this intense pressure, because if they let it go, and David made the point, how long can it keep going? Because I think if it comes off the game, we've got a gut feel it'll favour Collingwood.
The Didac scenario is really interesting now, because they do need some excitement in this team right now. They need some stepping, they need some ball carrying, they need a freakish goal to get them excited. You may nearly even take the risk 10 minutes into this third quarter if Reed's still just hobbling around and just participating. I'd impact Didac into this contest and let him show what he can do on a big stage, because he's going to come in fresh. He might cause some problems, and he's not going to get a lot of the ball, but what he does might just propel Collingwood and get them excited.
Well, they haven't had much from Cracker or Thomas, who usually gives something in that space you're talking about.
True. I'm amazed that at this point in the whole game, 8 contested marks have been taken for the hour of football that they've played. One bloke, and he's probably going to be the difference. Cloak has taken 2. Swan took one, a terrific one in the back pocket down. He's better over the head than
you don't want him in the back pocket.
No, you don't want him. Maxwell's taken one in the back, and Dawes has taken one at the other end. So I don't think Hawthorn in their front half, have they?
Franklin took one.
Lewis, Gibson, and Franklin's taken one. So it's pretty hard to get a ball in the air and put it somewhere where you can actually take a mark, because the defensive work.
Because there's so many numbers. When you get a one-on-one, there's a fair chance that someone will take a contested mark. I mean, you were raving about Cloak's mark down here because it was 1-on-3, but you're not going to do that terribly often, are you? If Cloak gets 1-on-1, he'll probably end up taking 10 contested marks. But right at the moment, he's going to have to mark against a lot of defenders.
And I've been really impressed with Shields and Smith.
Yeah, quick.
I've felt their quickness, but even their composure under heat tonight has been brilliant. They haven't coughed the ball up. They've rode tackles. They've bounced off tackles. 2 emerging super young players, and I think they've really done well tonight for Hawthorn.
If Smith, in fact, had started a bit early, probably wouldn't be hanging on and playing as well at the finish as he is, because he's a very skinny kid. But his last 6 weeks of footy, he's had an effect for Hawthorn like Heppel has had for a whole year at Essendon. He's an absolute find, because he covers the ground so quickly, and he's a prodigious kick on the end of it. So they've found a player there for the future, but he's been again, now whether he can see it out, because he has fallen away in the last quarter and a half in most of the games he's played, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and just his 16th game, Isaac Smith, a beauty. Well, at the top of the ladder, firstly for the Hawks, Mitchell, he's had 19 possessions, Lewis 14, Rioli 13, Gibson 12 and Smith 12. And for Collingwood, Leon Davis 19, so he's equal with Sammy Mitchell. Pendlebury 17, Swan 14, Ball 13. Down the other end, Lee Brown, and somebody say he was stumbling towards retirement. 2 hand passes in the first half. Beams also 2 hand passes in the first half. Tuvey 2 kicks and 1 handball. Quieties for Hawthorn. Well, Osborne's had just 3 touches, but he's gone up third man and won some hit-outs. But it's been a terrific game and very enjoyable. An 8-point lead to Hawthorn at half-time. They lead 4-7 to Collingwood, 3-5. And I know the AFL is trying to knock gambling on football on the head, but the scoreboard here still does give the odds at half-time, and they have Collingwood, even though they're behind, as clear favourites still.
A little tighter, but still distinct favourites. So holding faith with the Magpies in the second half.
Hasn't that been voted out, or it's been voted out for
next
2012,
year?
Isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was immediate cessation, but that would break a contract, I guess.
There's a definite edge, though, around the stadium that preliminary finals should bring. There is the possibility of something unforeseen unfolding at the MCG tonight. Hawthorn by 8 points. They head to their positions, and into the second half we'll go on Grandstand AFL with Drew Morphett.
Thank you, Jared. The crowd starts to rise again. Just a bit of an interlude there for half-time to catch our breath after what was a pulsating, thrilling first half. Low scoring, 4-3, but great stuff. Here's the bounce to start the second half. Comes down on Bailey's head, but actually Jolly gets a hand pass out just to the second circle, and it'll be bounced again. So the Hawks 31 lead the Pies 23. Not as many seagulls as last week, but it's a bird sort of a night. Third man up is Lewis, but it comes to Swan of Collingwood, who spirals the ball towards half forward, knocked on by Cracker but chopped off by Burgoyne, who goes across the half back line. A terrific kick. He puts it out in front of Birchall, who has trouble getting a handle on the ball, but he does so now, near the boundary line at half back flank. Well played, Grant Birchall. Down the line to Puopolo. What a first season he's had. He works Davis off the ball and then goes in to get Swan. Poppy, well done. Just about through it, Swan, but he gets the ball out to Shaw. A high kick towards centre half forward. A punch from behind by Guerra, discipline. But first there is Blair for Collingwood. He's caught in a tackle. His hand pass partly knocked down by Hodge, but it goes to the opposing skipper, Maxwell. Maxwell toes the ball forward, spills Hawthorn's way, and Sewell gathers. Hand pass to Mitchell. Well, he might win the medal on Monday night, but he'll have it taken off him because he's been suspended. Sammy gets the ball out. Lewis marks on centre wing.
Lewis will use Osborne down the line. He's got Bailey inboard, Shields as well, didn't go. So Osborne's going to be committed. Oh no, he pulled the kick short in the end to Shields. He plays on, Franklin's the target, he's behind Tarrant, and coming over the back to take the mark is Puopolo, who is covering the territory.
Well, Hawthorn's forward line looks more open than Collingwood's, doesn't it?
Yeah, Maxwell's the one back, isn't he? And he usually reads it very well, but hasn't had a great impact as we know to this point. So I'm not sure who the extra in Hawthorn's back is.
Tough shot, won't take it, squares instead to Hodge and opens the angle up significantly. And Nick Maxwell has done his Nelly and his teammates. As to how that was allowed to happen, the skipper kicking at the ground in disgust, having provided a burst.
Hodge got into a hole last week and set up a goal for Bailey, similar fashion.
He kicked goals at the start of the third term against the Cats, Hodge, to drag his team back into it. This is to extend the lead. From 35 out, Hodge misses right. They lead by 9.
We've seen a lot of bad set shot misses tonight.
Yep.
From both sides, not just Hawthorn, but certainly from Collingwood as well.
Either side may rue those
Absolutely.
at the end of the game. Davis kicks in for the Pies. Daisy Thomas, this is your time. Oh, he's well under the ball, and that was a half-hearted, one-handed attempt. O'Brien has a fumble. Hale throws himself at it. Here comes Burgoyne for Hawthorn. To Osborne, floats a beautiful hand pass to Mitchell. Mitchell stabs the ball to the pocket. Onto the chest of Hodge. Glorious to watch. Hodge centres the ball out in front of goal. Shields marks. Guerra marks. Perfect football by the Hawks.
Mitchell's kick. It went past 3 sets of players within an inch of each of them and hit him. Did it hit Hodge, was it?
Yeah, it was Hodge.
Hit Hodge right on the... chest.
Brent Guerra right in front. 45 metres from goal to the punt road, and he kicks it. This is getting dangerous now for Collingwood. Hawks 5-8-38, lead Collingwood 3-5-23.
You may have asked which is the player that's back for Hawthorn. Most of the time it's Burgoyne, and Hawthorn are wrapped with that because they don't essentially want Burgoyne playing on anyone in case. Because I think he's carrying a knee. But what he's doing is setting them up. They're winning the ball back and they're coming back the other side. And Collingwood are just not getting any traction inside their own 50. The ball's going in and coming out really quickly.
It is. And if you go back to Mitchell's kick was fantastic, but it's the piercing left foot of Hodge that opened up the corridor as well. And I was going to say Guerra's a really good set shot for goal, and he finished.
Just mentioned Schoenmaker's first kick on the way out from defence too. He got a bit of confidence out of that.
This is as far as the lead has been. Hawthorn by 15. Lewis tackled and dispossessed in the middle. It falls for Pendlebury to give it to Swan. His kick is away though at half forward. It bounced wide and Birchall pounces. Has support. Used the hand pass to Sewell and gave it on to Bateman. Kick to half forward. Bailey's got to get into it. Great fist trying to knock it for Franklin. He's in a wrestle with Maxwell. Hand pass to Bateman. Stumbles his way to ground. He's in trouble. He's wrapped up. The umpire takes pity and he will bounce.
15-point lead to the Hawks. 5 minutes played, third quarter. Here's the bounce. Hodge is going to be the ruckman. He knocks it to Lewis. Flicks it over his head. That's got to be a throw. It comes to Hodge on the 50 to the goal square. Rioli dangerous with O'Brien. Rioli taps over his head and is held by O'Brien. Had to be a free kick. Umpire. Oh, Rioli, brilliant. He didn't get the first free. He got the second and played on quickly and kicked the ball back to Mitchell, who's taken the mark only about 30 metres from goal.
Maxwell did the right thing because he knew that was a free kick, so he just stood there and said, you can tackle me and get it back.
You're spot on. Maxwell gave the game away.
Yep.
He actually stopped believing the umpire had called. He must play on. You've got to play to the whistle. He stopped and just let Rioli tackle him. It's really bizarre.
Mitchell for goal. Kicks it! Hawthorn tough to beat.
Well, the good thing about the ex-captain, he's really risen to it. I mean, he's a great player, consistently through this year, probably is a reasonable, Brownlow candidate, but at least, I'm not going to win it obviously because he's been suspended, but his form, his initiative tonight, his courage and skill with it has been superb.
Right, you're sitting in the Collingwood box. What do you do now?
Well, they haven't got to say they'll start praying, but they haven't changed their method. I haven't seen anything from in this.
They've got to even it up.
They've got to even up
the numbers. They've got to go 7 in their front half if they have to, and go 7v7.
That conversation's got to be going on.
Yeah, because they've got 5 up the other end. Maxwell has to push forward, or push Tuvey or Tarrant forward. One of those players, or even Leon.
Yep.
It's Hawthorn by 21 points. Jolly down to Swan, breaks his way out. Some dynamic play at last. A bounce, a surging kick. Gibson stands underneath though to make the spoil. Schoenmakers keeps it away from Cracker. Everybody tackles Schoenmakers. It's to be bounced in the teeth of goal for the Pies.
I'd take off a defender and put Didak on because you play him as a forward. You take Reid off, put Didak on, play 7 forwards.
Good call. It's 2-0.
Got to make something happen soon. Hodge, third man up, spikes it down to Whitecross. Dragged down by Dale Thomas. Free kick. Pendlebury claims the advantage. Kick to the goal square. Mark is taken by Dawes.
I agree with you, Matthew. I think to create a one-on-one game now is the way Collingwood can get themselves back into it.
See, they're into each other, aren't they? Shaw's giving Reid an absolute bait there. I know they do that consistently. I know there's a great understanding between their players, but I don't like that.
Chris Dawes, point blank range. That will be something of a tonic just to try to settle the nerves. Collingwood down by 15 points with Dawes booting his second. 4-5-29 to the Hawks, 6-8-44.
In the end, it came from a stoppage. I just felt, I don't know who went up and scored for Hawthorn. I don't think they got it wide enough. Sort of came back into the corridor, put Whitecross under the pump. It's a great tackle by Thomas.
And Swan's initial thrust out of the middle was a beauty. It's a Swan-type characteristic play we haven't seen all that much of tonight.
Gee, what we're getting is a cracking preliminary final. And the Collingwood chant goes up around the MCG. They trail by 15. They're urging their team on. And a good response from the Hawthorn fans. It's knocked down in the middle. Comes the ball. Is this a resurgence by the Pies? Knocked to the front. Swept off the ground by Burgoyne. Kicks it long out into space. Franklin, one out with Tarrant. Paddle away by Swan. Finishes up with Shields of Hawthorn. He's passed. Puopolo held. And a free kick. It's against Davis. Puopolo right in front.
Can I say it on the back of Franklin's effort?
Yeah.
Franklin to turn round, come back. He just got a hand on the released hand pass and it ricocheted back into a pathway of one of his mates. It was a fantastic contest without actually taking control of the ball.
It's always a worry as a defender when you're one-on-one and the ball's coming in. And
Puopolo for his second.
That's
missed
a bad
it.
miss, isn't it?
He was right in front and about 30 metres from goal. You couldn't believe he could miss that. He's kicked 1 goal too. His first season, but a mature age recruit from Norwood. He should have got that. The Hawks are 6-9-45. The Pies 4-5-29.
Because it's on the line right now. You can sense it. Davis with the long kick in and he finds Swan. It cleared the defensive 50. Swan is looking for options. He dabs sideways to Reid. The only real play open to him is the switch across the ground for O'Brien. The kick will arrive at the defensive 50. He works it on to Thomas. This is to reach right halfback. Ben Johnson, some powerful running to the wing.
Just got to keep moving it.
Long down the line. Wellingham rises, didn't bring it down. Dawes is the crummer. Took a while to get it. Birchall's got him. Worked the hand pass to Tuvey, who fumbled. Schoenmakers protects it for Bateman. Just came off the kick to ensure he didn't boot it out on the full. And it rolls away out of play.
Well, they're taking a risk. At least they're moving it quicker. We've said they were very slow round the boundary line. At least it's going a little quicker at the moment. That's Collingwood.
The Hawks by 16 points. The throw in near centre wing. Leroy Brown has been a factor today. Comes to Sewell. His kick is smothered. Ball bounces back to Guerra. A high ball towards centre wing. Franklin hands to it. Couldn't quite take the mark. It spills to Johnson, who finds Tarrant, who finds Pendlebury. Down the line. And it's knocked away from Wellingham out of bounds. Multiple interchanges. Hawthorn used 3 at one point right then. It is 45-29. Hawthorn leading.
At the throw-in, Brown in front. Bailey clearly gets his hand to it, but Swan is getting through. Hand pass, bit nondescript, taken by Birchall. Dragged down, ball gets it for the Pies. Bounces it inside the 50. Dawes a great tackle, strip the ball clear. Hand pass to Swan, who's trying to ignite them. The bounce didn't come back. Had to kick it off the ground and lost it to Gibson. And the Hawks on the counter-attack. The kick is to Smith. Hand pass to Shields. Off half-back he goes to Puopolo. He's in front of Davis. Puopolo wins the ball. Back to Smith. Overwhelmed though. Tuvey with a kick. The Pies to run forward.
And Sidebottom receives a hand pass. Kicks to centre half forward. Thomas can't mark. He's had a poor night, Daisy. Ball comes to Hodge, who wrestles himself free. To Birchall. Hawthorn looking great guns. Through Schoenmakers it goes and out wide to Bailey, who marks in between halfback and wing. Kicked by Bailey, the ruckman. Up to Hale, the second ruckman. He comes from behind and gives away the free kick.
He didn't have to, but it was well done by Maxwell. He got front spot.
Maxwell takes the free at right halfback. Kicks it to Cloak. Gets the glove to the ball, but it's out of bounds.
I just sent Swan. I know he's coming off for a break. I think Swan's gone up a level, and he's been dangerous without quite being able to break free.
He tumbled and stumbled in the goal street going in, but he's getting better, no doubt about it.
He is quick, and he was run down from behind by Whitecross. I couldn't believe I saw that happen. This ball comes to Johnson. Gets the hand pass to Tuvey. Kick partly smothered. Hawthorn swarming like bees. And they have put Collingwood off their game here tonight. The Hawks lead 6-9-45 to Collingwood 4-5-29.
Franklin leaving the ground for a rare blow. He'll only be off for a couple of minutes and he'll be back on.
Not quite the halfway mark of the third term. Hodge from the stoppage. Hand pass to Mitchell. Bounces it up near Rioli. Osborne takes it. He looks inside the 50. Puopolo one-on-one with Shaw. It gets to the back. Puopolo off the ground. It goes across the face and slews away. Shaw goes off the ground. Oh, he's kicked it straight to Hale. Hale stands in the tackle. Hand pass to Puopolo. Works it to Smith. Shaw gets him fiercely. Stayed in the contest, wins the stoppage.
A great desperation on both sides, but particularly by Shaw there. He saved them there.
He did. Hale missed the bloke on the inside. The big man wasn't quick enough to do the full circle. The grey matter didn't work fast enough.
Bounce in the forward pocket for the Hawks. Comes down to Hodge, doing his best work in tight. He has stood up. Kelly.
Well, like Matthew just said, a chance for Buddy to come off and have a breather, which means Chris Tarrant followed him off. He's getting the hamstrings worked on overtime at the moment, and Didak, the sub, still watching.
Bailey palms it down. Next touch vital. Sewell on all fours. Hand pass to Bergman, who gets free. He snaps from the pocket. Just misses to the near side. Through for a minor score. The Hawks go to 6-10. Couldn't really blame him for that one. Not like Puopolo's miss. And Collingwood 4-5.
Shaw into the pocket for Swan. He's had his short breather and into the play with a kick to Luke Ball. There's nothing obvious ahead. Sidebottom's trying to make space short. Ball goes longer. Pendlebury up. Didn't fly with both hands though. Thomas at the drop. Hand pass to Dawes. Stripped of it by Showermakers. Pendlebury on the follow-up to Thomas. Sewell got a hand in there just to make sure it didn't go cleanly to Davis. And it slews away from them out of play.
I know Thomas is having a bad night in a sense, but I think his work rate's okay. It's just his touch at the moment.
Out on the southern wing, thrown in. Hale guides it defensive side. Sewell went past it. Stratton got it. Here's Guerra, and now Sewell is onto it. Kick to half forward. Franklin, it's Bailey against Reid. Reid makes the spoil. It's punched away and out of play. Right half forward for the Hawks. They lead by 17 points.
Collingwood lost only twice during the season, both times to Geelong. They stitched up this opposition at their only meeting. This ball comes down to Swan. Standing start kick up towards the centre of the ground. Hawthorn have it again. Another turnover by Collingwood. Comes out to Schoenmakers. Short pass across to Birchall. Back edge of the centre square. Birchall straightens up to Murphy. Back to Birchall on the gallop. He kicks out towards Puopolo, but it won't reach him. And the ball chopped off by Johnson. His head strapped in a bandage after a cut above his left eye earlier in the game. Goes short, and Shaw has taken the mark at right half back.
With Franklin off the ground, they just lack a structure
First
up
risk,
forward, don't they?
First risk to the corridor.
Shaw. His
Great
kick in is good to Blair. Blair's kick to full forward. Cloak marks on the run. Gets the goal. Cloak gets his second. Corridor footy by Collingwood.
Finally, Shaw had the courage to pull the trigger to the corridor. He found Blair, who turned the corner and hit Cloak on the dead run, who got behind the defence. You can see Shaw didn't want to do it instinctively, but he said, I've had enough of this. I want to get back in this footy game. Hawthorn have to be on their game the next 10 minutes.
I mean, we hit the nail on the head. They've got to play that way, Collingwood. If they, my view right at the moment is if they play that way, I think they'll have enough run to get Hawthorn.
Yep, I would agree with that. And a lot of their good players, you've said, are working themselves back into it. No doubt about that. A couple particularly terribly important players in their makeup. Swan and Pendlebury, yeah.
Hawthorn by 11, bounced back into the middle. Swan's going to win the clearance again. Hand pass to Johnson, tumbles it inside the 50. Poor kick. Stratton stands underneath the mark for the Hawks. Oh, just a moment of indecision on the way out. Pulled off the kick. Instead went the hand pass to Guerra. Took a little while to get it. Inboard he comes to Hodge. Now he's got a couple out on the southern side. That's where they were best set up. Instead he pokes it near the corridor for Burgoyne. Burgoyne sees the runners. As the outlet, long sweeping ball. Murphy stands against Thomas. Hand pass to Birchall and they're on the break. Uses it short to Hale. Thought about the hand pass, instead turns to deliver the kick up to half forward. Bouncing ball for Shields. Closes on the 50. Sends it up at goal. It's across the face. Away. And out of play. In fact, on the full, it carried the line. No score. It stays an 11-point lead.
Should have done better, but he'd run pretty hard. Free kick, mark taken by Ball at halfback. Just outside defensive 50. 46-35, an 11-point lead to the Hawks. Kick by Ball, hugs the boundary line again. Cloak pushes, gets rid of Schoenmakers, gets away with it, takes the mark. Kick by Cloak in the direction of Brown. You've done nothing. The punch away by Stratton comes down to the front. Oh, Gibson, monstered. Wellingham gets him from behind, gets him over the boundary line, and the umpire says throw it in, and it will be a boundary throw in.
They kicked the past 2 goals, the Pies at intervals. The throw in. Hale brought it down underfoot, needs Sewell. Sewell works the hand pass out to Whitecross at halfway, too cute. Gave it up to Swan. Swan gave it back under pressure from Osborne, and Whitecross gets a second go. Kick to half forward where Tarrant controls the play. Marks it away from Franklin. Gives some ground to Maxwell. Pendlebury goes with him. Rioli smothered the kick on the way through. O'Brien's got to go. They get him. The Hawks have it. Smith to Rioli to goal. Tremendous win for the Hawks deep forward. They unsettle the Pies again and lead by 17 points. 7-10 to 5-5. Time on, third term.
But it starts with Terrence Kick, didn't it? I mean, he did well to mark it, and then he squares one back along the ground, and it just opened it up.
Well, that was the
O'Brien was 1 on 4. He was under all sorts of trouble there.
He got paid out by Bateman and Lewis afterwards, but he was put under.
Well, it wasn't his fault.
No, it wasn't his fault. He did get caught in the vice very quickly and spilled it out. But
and to be honest, they cop their right whack, Collingwood, because every time they score a goal, they win a centre clearance, and it goes in, and the spare number marks it.
Yep.
It's because they haven't got an equal number ahead of the ball. They should be capitalising on their dominance, but they're not. And Hawthorn are just counter-attacking.
Bailey wins the hit out in the middle, but Hawthorn can't clear it, and there'll be a secondary bounce. That was Rioli's first goal tonight. Franklin's kicked 2. He's the only multiple goal scorer for the Hawks. And for the Pies, Dawes and Cloak have both kicked 2. At the bounce, Hawthorn win it. Comes down to Osborne. He gets his hand pass back to Smith, this youngster. Plenty of pace about him. His hand pass, though, chopped off by Cracker. A wild kick by Cracker. Out to no one. Marked on centre wing by Mitchell for Hawthorn. Kicks to half forward. Bateman, a good gather. He spears it in low, Rioli, as it punched away by O'Brien. Comes down to the front to Cracker. Cracker's kick back to the wing. Cloak gets a fist of the ball when he was in no position to mark. It spills to Burgoyne. He squares the ball into the centre square. Sewell takes the mark. Gets his hands free and pumps the ball to Franklin. Hands to it, can't mark. In front, Hodge. Raking left foot by Hodge. All the way, and just misses. 4 behind. The Hawks 7-11. The Pies 5 goals 5.
Well, they're keeping them in and up. They've had a couple of set shots that sort of gone, and Hodge usually puts those away, so they've kept them alive, Collingwood.
Well, 18 scoring shots to 10.
Yep.
Side bottom into the back pocket for Shaw. Kelly Underwood.
Ben Johnson hobbled off, a kick to the calf. He's getting plenty of work, Jared.
Shaw from the back pocket. Swan makes the ground at defensive 50. Again, just nothing to work as the overlap or the quick play on. So Swan out across the face of goal. Reid has a bounce from the defensive goal square. Out the southern side. His kick was a bit to no one, really. It bounces its way to Tarrant. Hand passed over his head for Tuvey. That's not going to come off. Puopolo gets in the way. Just needs to release it. He can't. Tuvey disputes it with him, and it's to be a bounce on the southern wing.
Birchall's been very good, hasn't he, on the way? And he's got terrific leg speed for a bloke who's 6'3".
The bounce. Jolly tries to rove. He actually paddles the ball to Tuvey. He gets it to Maxwell. Standing start, a high ball inside the centre square. Ball in dispute. Sewell gets the hand pass back. They're off and running now, the Hawks. Across the half-back line. Gibson. Oh, poor kick by Gibson. He had 2 players and in between them. Mark taken by Pendlebury. Bang, back to full forward. Davis has gone forward. And he can't take the mark under pressure from Murphy, who gets it away from him, out of bounds.
Oh, it's still dangerous, though. Stoppage in your forward line. Bad kick by Gibson.
Leon's played nearly the whole season on the back line. Been thrown forward.
From the throw-in, there's a huge pack around it, and the ball will not emerge.
Great acknowledgement for Puopolo, the role he's played, to have Davis move forward. Now they've just got to watch Davis defensively. They've got to make sure they've got a good marker on him down there.
And Tuvey's the bloke who's taken the job over on Puopolo.
Pendlebury, third man up, knocked into the corridor, but Lewis had it scouted. Hand passes it away to Sewell, gives it to Bateman. Had to kick around the corner, it's not great. It gives O'Brien a look on the broadcast wing. He thumps it back inside the 50. Cloak in front, can't hang on. Bailey's hand pass was a bit panicked. They might still get out. Gibson was able to release it. Schoenmakers to Osborne. Osborne takes a moment at left half back. He's got runners working for him in Smith. Kicked it there. Smith to halfway. Open forward set up. Puopolo in front. Tuvey closed late. Two-fisted spoiled. It's out of bounds.
As a collective group down back, they've been good, haven't they? The ball's gone long and high enough for him to get to it. Now Cloak is swarmed every time. He's got 4 to compete against. Very good job as a collective, Hawthorn down back.
Hodge takes a big run at this and gets a knuckle to the ball. It comes to Lewis. Hand pass out wide. Franklin receives the hand pass, dodges Harry O'Brien and kicks from the boundary line across the face of goal, and it is out of bounds. They're the goals that so often Buddy kicks.
He didn't have
the last
fade back,
the fade back didn't come. It went with the arm. Didn't come back.
Don't worry, I saw a couple one night.
Hawks by 3 against your mob.
Knees up your blokes.
Hawthorn 7-11 to 5-5.
Maxwell had to just kick and hope outside the 50. Ben Johnson was his best target. Spoils are made. It's out of play. It looks like Didak is limbering up to be inserted into the action late in the third term.
I reckon Lee Brown's the one that might go, but that leaves him short in the ruck.
Not before time, Didak coming on.
At the throw-in, Hale guides it to the back, but Dale Thomas is there. Hand pass near Johnson, hasn't got it. Wellingham kept away from him initially. He does get it to Thomas, kicks in a hurry, straight to Burgoyne.
He's just mopped up Burgoyne, hasn't he?
He's been sensational.
But again, he's playing that role where he doesn't really have to play on anyone.
Gives ground to Gibson, up into the middle now for Birchall.
He's a great reader of the play and he's an even better distributor of the ball. So to have him free is just lunacy.
Birchall spreads out to Schoenmaker's broadcast wing. The tighter player starts to move across the field. Searing ball to Gibson. Works the hand pass to Smith, who provides the run and boots it in long. Franklin can't get into it. Hale as well. Franklin pushed actually to keep himself free. And he's been penalised as such. Maxwell's been caught up in some of the carnage under the pack, and he is slow to rise.
Yeah, I think he got... I don't know what... You'll have to see it. I don't know what happened, but he's pretty tough, Maxwell. So, yeah, he came back with courage. It was actually Hale who ran into him.
Wellingham takes the mark and kicks up short of centre wing. Too high for ball. At the back, Lewis, close to the boundary line. He's crunched over by Cloak. That wouldn't tickle, that tackle. A couple of tough nuts there.
He's a big man, Cloak.
Yeah, Lewis pretty tough in here. They've made a couple of dives for the line with the ball, haven't they? It's been sensational into the free territory.
Hawks have kicked 3 goals to 2 in this third quarter. And they won the first quarter and they won the second quarter. Oh, this one comes to Blair, who just barges his way through. Not bad for a little bloke. Kicks inside the 50. Chance for the Pies. Comes to Dawes. He balks the kick. Hand pass to Davis, who's caught straight away in a great tackle by Murphy.
I reckon that's play on. I mean, anyway, it doesn't matter. Hawthorn were going to clear it anyway.
Burgoyne gathers and passes off to Shields.
Shields has an outrider at right half-back. And he uses Whitecross. Up now to Osborne. Long goes the kick for Bateman. It's over the top of his head. O'Brien comes back to dispute it. Bateman goes to ground and O'Brien brings the ball away. Hand pass to Maxwell. Inboard to Jolly. Kides the kick out wide. And Thomas.
I know Hawthorn's sub.
You're right.
Bateman's got to come off.
Yep.
Suckling's pace and his kicking ability.
Ben Johnson marked the kick down the line. Inside the final minute of the third term, Hawthorn by 18 points. Johnson with a long kick. Gibson will come into the pack and Stratton comes back as well. And they all conspire to keep it away from Cloak. It's out of bounds.
Well, I really think Collingwood need to score from this situation. For them, a goal would give them enormous impetus going into the break.
Close to three-quarter time. 28 minutes played. Boundary throw in. Jolly works it to the back. Pendlebury roves. Too far out to score. He kicks it long over their heads. It might bounce on and score. It does, but a minor score. Pendlebury has kicked 3 behinds tonight. He is goalless. Hawthorn have won every quarter. Collingwood could still come over the top of them and beat them in the last quarter. Last week in Perth we saw Carlton win 3 quarters and lose the game. Could nearly happen again.
Schoenmaker's marked the kick in the back pocket as long as he can to buy some territory and Hale up to take a mark in that pack.
Just needs to kill the clock.
Yep, he knows it too. The message has been well sent. So Hale will kick it 50 down the line and pretty well get us to three-quarter time. Franklin bowls over Jolly. Dale Thomas gets a kick away. And that is the final change. And the Hawks have won the 3 terms so far. And they will take a 17-point lead into the final term against the reigning Premier. 7-11-53 Hawthorn. Collingwood 5-6-36. They won that term by 9 points. The goal kickers, Franklin with 2. Singles to Lewis, Mitchell, Guerra, Puopolo and Rioli. For Collingwood, it's 2 each to Dawes and Cloak. and a single to Jolly. All the goals coming from their tools thus far. In the Rugby World Cup tonight, Australia 67 beat the USA 5. And closing in on full time in the prelim in the NRL, Manly 26 is going to beat the Brisbane Broncos 14. Hawthorn by 17 on Grandstand AFL here on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Social media tools like Twitter, Facebook and YouTube have changed the way the world communicates. They provide a fast and simple way for us to share information and connect with each other online. So how does social media work and how can you get started? ABC's Technology Explained website is here to help. It features videos and articles on everything from social media, new ways to watch TV and more. Head to abc.net.au/techexplained.
Grandstand AFL.
Mitchell stabs the ball to the pocket. Onto the chest of Hodge. Glorious to watch. Hodge centres the ball out in front of goal. Guerra marks 5 metres from goal to the punt road and he kicks it. Oh, Rioli, brilliant. He didn't get the first free. He got the second. Mitchell for goal. Kicks it. Hawthorn tough to beat.
Free kick, Pendlebury claims the advantage. Kick to the goal square. Mark is taken by Dawes. Point blank range. That will be something of a tonic just to try to settle the nerves.
Good to Blair. Blair's kicked the ball forward. Cloak marks on the run. Gets the goal.
O'Brien's got to go. They get him. The Hawks have it. Smith to Rioli to goal. Tremendous win for the Hawks. Deep forward.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio.
Hawks by 17 at three-quarter time. Peter Schwab, David Park and Matthew Knight.
Can I lead off and say the three unanimous led by Matthew and Peter that they had to do two things, and we were in unanimous agreement that they'd have to man up and go the 7 if necessary. They can relieve that by pushing Blake up, who takes one with him. They chose not to do that, so it became, if I'm right, a Maxwell basically versus Burgoyne. And Burgoyne was the absolute architect, in my opinion. He got a lot of the ball. I can't tell you the statistic for that quarter, but he got a lot of the ball and used it exceptionally well and set anything up going forward. The second thing you made the suggestion that they'd have to, wherever they can, take the risk. I think it happened twice. It happened twice in that quarter. One caused the goal. The second one at least got an opportunity to score. By coming back into the corridor and taking that risk, which they did maybe twice for the quarter. And it seems to me, and I always worried about this as coaches, how ingrained your game becomes where what I call habitual behaviour under pressure, and they're under pressure. There's still not much time and space to do anything. The game hasn't opened up at all as we thought it might have by this stage. You go back to the habits that you've been producing, that they have for the last probably 3 seasons, week in and week out. You remind us of quarters they played, 2 teams, one was Adelaide, one also, I can't think who the other team was, where Collingwood did make a change partway through the game and got the victory in the finish. It is yet to happen. So I'm fascinated by the methods that the two teams are using, which have been their set methods during the season. Hawthorn has maintained their approach with corridor risk and short to medium length kicks to their mates, which they consistently hit. It's been a fascinating contest in a real sense with, I think, Collingwood struggling because some of their prime movers who have the capacity, I guess, like Thomas, to do incredible things off their own bat. They can create things out of nothing. And we haven't really seen that. Swan's been reasonably methodical, but even he hasn't taken hold of the game at any stage. And I've seen him do that week in and week out. So they still, in my humble opinion, have the potential to get hold of the game at some stage. But at this point, they haven't done as much as well as Hawthorn have done a lot more and better.
And they've scrambled so well, Hawthorn. They've halved a lot of contests. Just as you felt Collingwood were going to get away and explode into space, a hand would go in, a smother would go in, and it was like the Tarrant turnover. They just got something in there to prevent Collingwood from moving the ball forward. Precise ball movement again by Hawthorn. It was terrific. They honoured the short kick. They honoured the 30-metre pass, and when they had to go out the back, they did. Collingwood persisted to kick 0 to 31 v2. And continue it, come back out. Collingwood persisted to quick kick it out of stoppages, and Burgoyne mopped up, Murphy mopped up. Collingwood, if they're going to win this game, have to even up the numbers ahead of the stoppages. Otherwise, Burgoyne and Gibson will be too good to manufacture the spare, and this game will be done. At the moment, they're 6v6 heading down there, Swabby. But it looks like Hodge is going to go and make a 7th.
And Didak is on for the last quarter. Beams has been subbed out.
I just think the margin only 17 points. You get one goal, you get some momentum, and this game is obviously up for grabs. And Collingwood need a big quarter because they've only kicked 5 goals for the match.
Collingwood's up against it. They're down by 17. Into the final term we go. Bailey to Mitchell. Kick smothered by Thomas. Lewis propels himself at it. Side bottom disputes it. Pendlebury trying to drag it clear. Thomas tackles ferociously. The secondary bounce.
Great smother because Mitchell was up and away. That was going to be a scintillating kick into their front half, and it was smothered beautifully.
Is this to be Mick Malthouse's final term as the Collingwood coach? Lewis spikes it forward, but it's cut off by Maxwell. Swan with a deft touch. Out to side bottom, stripped of it by Mitchell. Lewis goes on. Didak, though, wins the kick up to centre half forward. Knocked away. Bailey propels it into the middle for Osborne. To Lewis. Over the top it goes to Bateman. Took a little while to get hold of it. Leon Davis got hold of him. There's a Bateman free kick for some hanging on.
Wrong option, I thought. I thought Smith was the option coming through. He's got more pace.
They were teammates in Perth, weren't they? Bateman and Davis?
Yeah, they are.
Bateman gets out onto the right boot and bangs it up inside the 50. Easy ball for Tarrant to intercept.
Bad option, though. Bad kick.
Tarrant works the ball up the ground. Kick by side bottom up towards half forward. Dawes with Schoenmakers. Schoenmakers deflects it to Burgoyne, who dives in and thumps it away to Hodge. Back to Bateman, off to Lewis. Now Schoenmakers. Hawthorn playing terrific football. The kick towards the 50. Punch away by Tarrant. Right by Rioli. Hand pass on Puopolo. He got the Stevie Milne bounce. Ball 40 metres from goal. They're in there for a second go at Hawthorn. But the umpire is going to come in and ball it up.
Doesn't Rioli part the ways?
Well, it's a fine line, isn't it, in football? You know, that brilliant by Rioli. The bounce just didn't sit for him.
At three-quarter time, Hawthorn were now the favourites. Collingwood were favourites at half-time, even though they trailed, but the Hawks are now favourites in the game. It'll be a good win for Collingwood if they get out of this one. Kicked out of defence by the Pies. Taken here by Sewell. Hand pass to Schoenmakers. A poor hand pass by him. Here's Didak, the sub for Collingwood. He gathers, finds Pendlebury. Hand pass to Swan. Swan comes to a standstill. Delivers the ball back inside the centre square to Pendlebury. Straight up the corridor he goes to Blair. A pass straight up the corridor for Cloak. And he's marked 45 metres from goal.
A corridor kick. Hit a target in the corridor in space, and you've got a nice little entry, but go right back to Schoenmakers, whose handball created it all. That was a poor disposal by him.
Travis Cloak has kicked 2 goals tonight. 2 goals, 1. He can narrow the margin. 17 points they trail. Kicks from 50 at the punt road end. Hook behind.
Well, it's a bad miss, isn't it? I mean, he's in front of goal. You're the key forward. You've got to nail it.
And he turned his back on the play. He had options ahead of the ball, but he turned his back and he didn't look inside.
He didn't, but he should kick those.
Hawks by 16. Lewis got knocked rotten by a ripper bump from Lee Brown. Long kick into play. Brown is into that pack trying to intercept for the Pies, but Hodge gets it. Work the hand pass away. Kick from the pack from Murphy. Bounces at the interchange gates. Comes back into play. Jolly to Thomas to Shaw. Got caught by Bateman and dispossessed. Hodge to Whitecross. The Hawks are on down the field. Sewell works it onto Mitchell. Kicks wide into the pocket. Puopolo on the bounce. Gathered. Turned to the inside out. Outside of the boot. Kick for Rioli. On the behind line. Shoveled it back. O'Brien intercepts though. Oh. Maxwell almost run down by Rioli. Had to get rid of it in one hell of a hurry. Thomas devilishly clever off the standing start. Kicked it to Shaw. Off to side bottom. Up to Jolly. Jolly guides it for Cracker. Gets it on the bounce. Gives it to side bottom. Arch the back. Kick the full forward. Dawes. Got it. Thrilling stuff one end to the other. Grimly defended. They go down to get a goal.
I get annoyed. If you're a coach, you get annoyed. I don't know what Puopolo was doing. I'd love to ask him, because that was a disgraceful effort down there, and that's why it's up this end.
Yeah, a little outside of the foot Hollywood kick.
Chris Dawes has kicked two to inflate the Collingwood campaign. From 30 out, directly in front, he does the job. And maybe they can draw some belief from it. Collingwood closes to 10 points down. 6-7 to 7-11.
And you know why it annoys you? Because all night they've been poised, they've been patient, they've backed their speed, but then he rushed and he panicked. Side bottom for the first time tonight, overlap. Caused overlap with 2 or 3 disposals.
I sense Collingwood are running pretty well at the moment, and they're taking more risks, and they were starting to win the clearances and the contested footy, and even in the third quarter when they were getting beat on the scoreboard, they were winning that. And I think this game is really the gauntlet's down now for Hawthorn.
And Dale Thomas's little dink over the top. He's the only bloke in the ground who could have done what he did.
Pies trail by 21 points early in the third quarter. Margin back to 10 now early in the last. At the centre bounce. There's a high tackle. Collingwood free kick the ball.
Stoppage win again.
Kick by Luke Ball towards half forward. Dawes in the middle of the pack, can't take the mark. Row by Davis, off the left, Leon. Will it carry the distance? Yes! A goal to Davis. Defender turned forward. Margin 4 points.
It's taken till the 6-minute mark of the last quarter for Mick Moldhouse to even up the numbers in the Collingwood forward line. Luke Ball won the stoppage. Yeah. He looked up, he had 7v7 fall of the ball action for Collingwood. Shields is coming off. He looks like he might have caught one in the ribs.
He did, he back. Showed courage, but took a heavy knock. It's a worry for Hawthorn at the moment. They cannot get their hand on the ball round stoppages right now. And Davis has got Murphy. I don't think that's a good matchup. He's also got Cracker down there. They're all sort of...
And Brown's picked up Gibson. He's playing him and forced that goal.
It's alive now at the MCG. Mitchell gets it in the middle for the Hawks. Hand pass to Sewell. Boots them to full forward. Up goes Puopolo. Tried to bring it down. Tarrant off the ground. Kicks it all the way to the defensive goal. Sees it out of play a metre around from the behind post. Hawks by 4. Early stages of the final 2. Right forward pocket for them. Thrown in. Bailey guides it down, but Luke Ball is there. Kicks them to the defensive 50. Blair couldn't hang on. Bateman can. He rips Blair off it and wins holding the ball.
I reckon that's tough, actually. I reckon it's play on.
So
Took
do
the
I.
ball and reefed off the ball, and he's flinging his boot at it. That's the play on call.
Was a good tackle.
Was a good tackle, but it's not.
Bateman is too far out off a step. He's gone for the money pass, and Hodge, the skipper, got to the pack to take the mark.
That is superb, Jared, because everybody knew what was happening. Hodge and all his mates and all the Collingwood's were, he just walked through the lot of them. The kick was a terrific kick from Bateman for a change. He hasn't been great with his feet tonight, but that found the bloke on the way through with the Sydney Express coming through. It was great acknowledgement.
I don't want to put the mocker on, but a lot of the set shots for goal tonight from real quality players haven't delivered.
Well, Hodge has kicked 2 behinds to quell the building momentum. The Hawks skipper from 30 out kicks the goal. Hawthorn had the breathing space back. They're up by 10. 9 minutes into the final 2.
Well, I think that was a bit of a dubious free kick, but they are working hard on the way out there. Forward structure, which I thought was a bit insipid in defence. That is, the small blokes, Osman and Bateman, weren't pulling them down. Puopolo's been very good in that department. Certainly the tackle was on instantly. Bateman's delivery in was superb in the circumstances. There wasn't the space. It should have been cut off, or someone should have defended that, but he's come through the captain. Well, yes, the captain now, and
loose man again. Loose man at both ends again.
I don't see how that's going to.
Well, Hawthorn will probably keep throwing players down in the back line.
Yeah, they're pushing Shaw forward now.
Back in the middle. Oh, Bailey up very high. Knocks it to Hodge, who finds Lewis. The hand pass forward to Bailey, who's dispossessed by Jolly. It spills to Shaw. Standing start kick towards centre half forward. There's a push. Free kick.
Well, that is the decision they could be. I mean, the ball wasn't within 5 minutes. He's pushed under the ball. Don't play that enough.
It's Guerra. Takes the free kick. He goes across the half-back line and finds Whitecross. He advances the ball towards centre wing, and Lewis, who's covered every blade of grass, takes the mark. Great Southern stand side. 59-49, a 10-point lead to the Hawks. When they played in their only meeting earlier this year, Collingwood won by 41 points. The kick towards half-forward, and Ball works to the front and takes the mark overhead. Virtually uncontested. Away to Pendlebury. Up to Wellingham. Didak, the sub who came on at three-quarter time, kicks down the line, made it easy for showmakers to get a fist of the ball and knock it out.
Jolly is injured. Jolly is hobbling from the field with the doctor, Kelly.
Yeah, the doctor went out to him a few moments ago, and this does not look good at all. I didn't see the incident, but he's hobbling. It looks like he can't put any weight on the right side of his body.
Yeah, it was a groin, I reckon. Thomas is going to get the ball out against the boundary from the throw-in. He hooks it to full forward. Dawes in the pack. The spoils are made. Side runs the Crummer. Side steps. Dragged down from the side. Birchall got him. Goal-saving stuff. Brad Birchall in the nick of time with the desperate lunge as Sidebottom was pulling the trigger.
They should have given it to Leon, I reckon.
Birchall long on the way out. Bailey goes to spoil. Hale is there to mop up. Hand pass to Bateman. Kicks forward to the middle. Rioli will run onto a loose ball out against the boundary. Taps it to his own advantage. Confronted by O'Brien. Gives a bit of ground. Pulls the kick near Franklin. Trying to barge through. Hand passed out in front of himself. Tarrant off the ground, trying to ease the pressure. Maxwell kicks in a hurry. It bounces to half-back, but it bounces into the grasp of Sewell.
He gathers, hand passes back to Bateman, but at his feet, he can't handle cleanly, but emerges with the ball, turns straight into Thomas. Thomas nails him with the tackle. Thrilling stuff. A 10-point game, Hawthorn leading. Collingwood fans wanting 50 metres. Thomas had to wait for the ball to be delivered. He goes the short pass. Shaw takes the mark centre wing near the boundary line. The kick towards half forward. It luckily comes through to Cloak, who was about third in line. He kicks from 55. Long. Chance for Blair, who climbs from behind but can't take the mark. He interfered. He interfered with Guerra. Guerra will take the free kick. He goes short. It works okay. And the mark taken by Suckling, the sub who's on in the last quarter. Whitecross subbed out of the game.
Out to Mitchell, running through half-back. Clever kick right into the middle. Stratton missed his target, but Smith will get back onto it. Hand passes around to the wing, and Stratton gets a second go. It's a half volley up to Bateman, so Stratton botched it twice. Thomas to Pendlebury, kicked the ball at left half-back. It's Hawthorn by 10 points, 13 minutes on the clock in this final two.
Well, and Whitecross is the man on, but
no, Suckling's on for Whitecross.
Whitecross, yeah.
And Bateman looks sore, so...
Yeah, I just can't believe that.
Lateral to Maxwell through Reid and onto O'Brien, so the Pies have gone left to right. Heath Shaw out on the southern wing, works it forward to Didak, out against the boundary, marks and plays on, cloaks his man, and he'll mark. He's a long way from home, but he'll wheel in and give it what he's got. It's near side all the way. And Guerra touches a ball that was probably going out of bounds on the full. It's a throw in deep forward.
Yeah, it's a bad decision because stoppages, as I keep saying, in your forward 50, and Collingwood are very good at them.
Jolly walking the boundary line, looking very ginger at the moment. Hale in ruck wins, but it's sharp by Swan, who snaps. Oh, it might have been touched. Oh, it's a goal. A goal to Dane Swan, and they get back to within 4 points.
Yeah, the Guerra decision was a tough one. Free kick out of bounds on the full. He has to leave it go. Stoppage play. Swan on the move. Swan on the run. Swan from the pocket. Absolutely brilliant. And he's the one that's exploding away from these contests.
I just think the stoppage situation since about half-time has become clearly in favour of Collingwood, with Swan and Ball in particular. They will miss Jolly, and it'll be interesting to see how they go without Jolly, but they're such a good side that they'll just shark it anyway if they can.
We've got Magpies, we've got Hawks, we've got Seagulls, and Swan kicks a goal.
It's the Hawks by 4 points halfway through the final term. Brown wins the tap in the middle, but Burgoyne has the footy. Hand pass to Sewell. Sewell tries to break through. Hand pass to Hale. Gives it on to Burgoyne. Advantage paid in there somehow or another. The Hawks are in desperate trouble. Swan to Sewell. They get it out. Murphy fires it wide to Shields. Shields will put this inside the 50. He goes deep beyond Franklin and Tarrant. They get back to contest, but with no chance of marking. Wellingham to Reid in the back pocket. Kicks it out to side bottom. Pumps the hand pass forward to Blair. Gives it off to Cracker. Kick to half forward. Cloak on the half volley. Can't quite gather. Held up for a moment. Swan tried to get through. Blair did. Hand pass to Brown. Up inside the 50. Dawes wrestling. Off hands. Away and out of bounds.
Yeah, well, they're happy with that, Collingwood. Again, they've got it where they want it.
Hodge getting treatment on the Hawks bench. Here's the throw in. Davis throws himself into the pack. And the umpire calls for it and is going to ball it up. Kel?
Well, he wants to come on. He's had that top of the right thigh, right groin strapped. He's stretching it out. He's desperate to get back on.
Pies have kicked 3 goals to 1 in the last quarter, having lost the first 3 quarters. The hit out comes down Hawthorn's way. Kicked out of defence by Burgoyne up to the middle of the ground. Kawapalo is there with Tooby. They both go to ground. Spills out, taken by Pendlebury. A long kick to the forward pocket. Chance in there to Dawes. Comes to the back. Schoenmaker's nearly caught holding the ball. He has spun around. It goes out of bounds.
Yeah, no,
he's been pinged for holding it.
You called it.
And Hawthorn need a lift from Franklin. He cannot win a contest at the moment.
So the free kick is to Leon Davis. He's outside the boundary line, about 30 to 35 metres from goal. Has kicked a goal in the last quarter to help spark this Collingwood revival. They have been up against it big time. They trail by 4, and if somehow Leon Davis can kick this from virtually outside the boundary line, Collingwood will lead.
Mitchell has to jam his angle here as much as possible because Leon's going to look to improve it. He'll try and buy himself a metre or 2. Tough shot for the normal, but Leon's not the normal.
He's kicked just 7 goals for the season, having spent most of it in defence. The kick is across the face. And off hands, out of bounds, alongside the behind post. So a throw in. So not certainly out of danger here for the Hawks defence.
This is where they're good. This is, as Pete suggested, stoppage again in the pocket.
Pies trying to hit the front. Jolly gets his hand to the ball from the back. It spills around and Lewis relieves some pressure for a moment for the Hawks. Kicks out to half back. Rioli got caught between the taller men, but somehow he emerged with the football. That was quite spectacular. He spreads the kick to Bateman. The Hawks are looking to break. Bateman's got a runner in Shields. His kick won't carry the necessary journey. And it's cut off by Maxwell. Collingwood straight down the guts. Gives it to Johnson. Kick to half forward. Hale made the spoil and wins the ball. Gives it to Birchall. Off now to Sewell. Hand pass to Bateman. Birchall again and Bateman working around on the southern wing. Bateman's not kicking it well. He's given it up again to Maxwell.
Maxwell, the skipper, to half forward. Pendlebury in front, might have been interfered with. Play on, said the ump. No, it is a free kick against Mitchell. Free kick to Pendlebury. Kick and a half to goal. 4 points the lead to Hawthorn. 18 minutes played last quarter. Pendlebury's kick out towards the pocket. The big men fly. Cloak marks. It was going to be Dawes or Cloak. They were both in the contest. Dragged down by Travis Cloak.
Well, what Cloak in particular and Dawes to a lesser degree are doing is providing the targets that you need late in a game where you can plunk the ball. Hawthorn only look like scoring on the break at the moment, and that's their problem.
Distance about 35 metres, about a 45-degree angle. This to put the Pies in front. And the Army rises at the MCG. Over 80,000 of them. Collingwood 9-7. Hawthorn 8-11.
Yeah, and you're right, Swabby.
what's happening is Hawthorn are just belting it out of defensive 50, but they're belting it to 3v1, and it just keeps coming back with interest. And eventually the dam wall broke, and eventually cloaked to the contested mark. So they're going to have to get some action forward of the ball, Hawthorn, because they're going to have to hit the scoreboard again if they're going to have to win this game at least twice, I think.
And the captain's doing his job, isn't he? Maxwell's the extra man. He's rounded up his troops. He's been influencing, I reckon, the last 3 entries. He's been part of it in some shape or form, and rebounded and set it up as the way Collingwood do when they're going well.
So having not led since the earlier stages of the second term, it's Collingwood by 2 points with about 7 minutes to play. Mitchell out of the middle wins the clearance, gets it up to Burgoyne, fires it to Bateman, great creative hand pass to Lewis, kicks to full forward, Hodge getting out the back, has it, was he taken high? No, said the umpire. O'Brien has the footy for the Pies, hand pass to Swan, kicks the relieving ball out to Ball, who plays for 50. No!
That's rubbish.
Not on.
Suckling's been penalised 50 as Luke Ball takes a dive.
I'd like to have a look at it, but I think the umpires just misread that.
Left half forward, Hodge missed out on a free kick that he wasn't entitled to, and Ball got a 50 that he wasn't entitled to. Kick up to full forward, Thomas trying to get into it. Dawes couldn't mark. Burgoyne kicks blindly. This time it comes off. Lewis at the defensive 50.
Was lucky, the one you talked about, a blind kick just hit the target. He's still got nothing forward of centre at the moment.
Shields up the ground through Burgoyne and now Bateman. Bateman to Hale with him. Is Reid. No mark. It comes to Reid, who hand passes straight to David Hale, who kicks to Franklin. Can't take the mark, but he recovers. Hand pass back to Osborne, who snaps from 45. It's away to the right and comes up short. And once again, Maxwell, standing firm in defence for the Pies, takes the mark in front of the behind post.
Well, again, Franklin, I know he won it in the end, but he needed to mark it.
Oh, the kick is smothered, and it's still there on the forward line. Well done by Osborne. But Maxwell recovered. Finds Sidebottom, who runs across in front of goal. Goes to the Great Southern stand side. Beautiful kick. And the mark taken by Shaw just inside defensive 50. A 2-point lead to Collingwood, approaching the 22-minute mark.
Kickers for Dawes. Stratton got into his back. No free kick. The ball pushed away and out of bounds.
Well, that was, you caught it, Jared, but he just gave up on it and crashed into his back and forced it over the line. That's a definite free kick in Collingwood's favour, not given.
Collingwood by 2. Hawthorn side of the middle. Bailey knocked it down. Pendlebury had it for a moment. Wellingham off the ground. Guerra in hard to meet him. Free kick, high contact. Wellingham will be sore from that one.
Yeah, might have corked him. Oh no, he got him high.
Swinging arm out onto the chin.
Yeah, that would have shook him up. Just keep coming back to it. Drew, can you give me a clearance total at the moment? Is there Collingwood and Hawthorn clearances?
35 to 30 Collingwood.
Wellingham is just trying to pull himself together. He's kicked it down the line, not very far. Thomas had to take it on the bounce. Hand pass to O'Brien. Muscled toward the boundary, but he gets his kick away. Swan is spoiled by Shields. It's all about what happens at the drop. Blair got it to Swan. Kick was partially smothered. Birchall takes it at half-back for the Hawks. They must create something from the movement. Suckling to Mitchell. Hand pass to Schoenmakers. Open forward line. Up over the top near Franklin. Franklin paddles to the boundary. He has it. Outside of the boot. Runs it home. That is bloody magnificent. Only Lance Franklin would dare. And he has dared to put his Hawks back in front. 9-11-65 to Collingwood 9-7-61.
Well,
can you describe it?
Well, he beat Tarrant to the ball. Tarrant forced him wide. He's check-sided with his left foot. Then he's rolled it in from 25 and said, "Thanks very much."
He's running at speed on the wrong side of the boundary, and he kicked it on the outside of his boot one way with his body momentum going the other. It's just absolutely staggering stuff from Lance Franklin.
Great effort. I mean, game well and truly a lot of time left, so don't think it'll be the winner.
4 points the margin to the Hawks. That is the goal of the year. Pity they decided it home and away, because the game on the line in a final, unbelievable. Bateman is dispossessed.
Taken by Tuvey for Collingwood. He kicks up towards half forward. Gathered by Cloakwell up the ground. Spins and kicks a very high ball inside the 50. Dawes crunches the pack. It comes back to him. He's ridden into the ground. Was it in the back? Lyons is the umpire. Spills to Schoenmakers. Hand pass to Suckling, who soccers off the ground but chips the ball straight to Cloak. Cloak, 75 from goal. Oh, it's shocking. I'll kick down towards the pocket. Suckling, Schoenmakers drops a sitter. Might not cost them because he's going to be helped out by teammates. Murphy taken to ground, and the umpire is going to ball it up.
Might cost them because again we're in this dangerous stoppage territory.
Final series. It's Hawthorn 9-11, Collingwood 9-7. 25 minutes played.
Pies deep forward on the bounce. Knock comes to the side. Luke Ball gets it, swings it at goal. It's there. It's there. Luke Ball has returned the Pies to the lead. As we straddle the line between hope and ruin, it's Collingwood by 2 points, 10-7 to 9-11, 25 on the clock.
I'm a broken record, but they have been smashed. I know, not in numbers, don't worry about the numbers, they've been smashed when it matters around a stoppage. Yep, and I'd like to know how many goals Collingwood have actually manufactured from those situations.
Yeah, that Schoenmakers did a handball at the start of the quarter, then he did a drop. He dropped that mark coming in. He should have taken it on his chest easily. So it shouldn't have been available to them as it turned out. Should have been gathered, stopped, controlled, and sent back.
Crowd is 87,112. The bounce in the middle. It is a 2-point game to Collingwood. Out of the middle, cleared by Swan. Up towards the 50. Cloak gets away from Gibson. He's running away from goal as he gathers. Hooks back towards goal. It bounces on. It doesn't quite make it, but hits the padding of the post. And a minor score. The Pies lead by 3 at the 26.25-minute mark of the last term. 68 to 65.
The Hawks have decided it's all or nothing. They went very quick from the kick-in. Stratton Mark booted it long, bounced it out of play. It's not panic stations yet, but every fibre and every bean out there will feel like it is. Collingwood by 3. Up on the broadcast wing at the throw-in. They all fly up at it. Suckling kicked it to the wing. Swan trying to trap it. Rioli got hold of Swan. He released the ball into the corridor. Reed had a fumble. Lewis is a man possessed. He pulled it clear. Hand pass to Burgoyne. The Hawks go forward. It'll bounce away at the 50. Heath Shaw can't get to it as it tantalisingly goes sideways and further away out of play.
That was an unbelievable individual effort.
Lewis
inside Lewis.
It's been terrific. He's had a good game, Lewis.
I want, you can't have.
3-point lead to the Pies. Half forward for the Hawks at the throw-in. It comes to Burgoyne. He bangs them up towards the pocket. A chance for Hawthorn here. Franklin dashes past, but Puopolo can't get the hand pass to him. He fights on hard, Poppy, and is holding it, and the free kick goes to Tuvey in the last line of defence for Collingwood. Can't be much time left. 27 minutes and 40 seconds played last quarter.
Tuvey will kick it as far as he can. Cloak up into this pack. Got to be spoiled. It spills to the back. Side bottom is there. Hand pass to Pendlebury. Kick up to halfway. There's only a few there. Brown punches it out in front of himself. He's got Didak. If he could find him, he didn't. He kicked for territory instead. He gained 35 metres and put it out of play. 50 from the Collingwood goal.
Is that the last kick of his career, or will be playing in a grand final next week?
Collingwood by 3 points, and territory is theirs. Hodge goes third man up. He's knocked it down to Cloak. Hodge trying to win it back. Davis pulled it away from him. Hand pass to side bottom. Kick into the pocket. Bounces over Cracker. Murphy for the Hawks. Hand pass to Sewell. Muscled out of play. Met firmly by Cloak and seen out of bounds. The Hawks are up against it.
Cloak's been enormous in this quarter. Work rate is through the roof at the moment.
Fantastic game.
The difference, I reckon.
Here's the throw in. Third man up, Lewis, who doesn't know how to stop. Swan met head on by Hodge. What a collision. Ball comes out to Rioli. Oh, he's too slow. Run down by Thomas, who's laid a couple of great tackles, Daisy, in the last quarter. Might be a match winner. Rioli was weaving, cruising, looking for something to do with it, and Thomas nailed him from behind.
They're looking to go backwards because they know the clock. Hawthorn have got to get up. They've got to get up and man up. There's too many Hawks behind the ball.
I thought it was a side. 29 minutes and 27 seconds played. It is a 3-point lead to Collingwood. They might hang on here. Ball kicks out wide to centre wing, and Tarrant takes the mark. Great Southern stand side. Approaching the 30-minute mark. Kick by Tarrant. This time he goes for distance. Pack gathers. Punch to the front. Didak can't take it. There it is! Collingwood get the chance to defend their title. Hawthorn braving defeat. Beaten by 3 points. Final score in an absolute nail-biter. Collingwood 10-8, 68. Hawthorn 9-11, 65.
Mick Malthouse is in tears in the coach's box. That's how that match has wrung him out.
2 weeks in a row I've seen a final decided by 3 points where the loser won 3 of the 4 quarters.
That was absolutely magnificent.
And in a sense, the one you saw last week, the losing side, in fact, not so much handed to, but almost created the opportunities for their opponents, in that case West Coast, to get up. And I think if they look back, and I don't know how much time they'll do reviewing this, I reckon there are enough instances where Hawthorn got to the position they could put them away. They missed some very easy shots at goal, some terrible turnovers at crucial times, and a lifting of the rate, particularly by the crucial players that we've talked about. Certainly Thomas got better, Swan got significantly better, and they weren't great players in the first half. Cloak, as you suggested, played one of the outstanding final quarters as the best forward, right up the ground and back. He was under duress to produce, and the finish he got his act together, set them up and kicked the goals that were crucial for him to get up this game. It was a terrific game of football. I mean, you couldn't get better than this in a preliminary final.
Jeff Kennett distraught. Sees out his time as president of Hawthorn with a gut-wrenching defeat.
They're all lingering out on the field, I think sharing the moment with each other in its own way. It's over for Hawthorn. Collingwood go on. The scoreboard 10-8, 68 the Pies to the Hawks 9-11, 65. Hawthorn led by a point at quarter time, by 8 at the half, by 17 at the final change. But Collingwood kicked 5 goals to 2 straight to pinch it. They hit the front. Lance Franklin kicked one of the most freakish goals you could ever see. Luke Ball, though, delivered the winner for the second time in consecutive finals. He kicked the winner in the qualifying final. He's kicked the winner in the preliminary final. The goal kickers were 3 each for Dawes and Cloak, with singles to Davis, Ball, Jolly and Swan. For Hawthorn, 3 to Franklin, 1 each to Lewis, Mitchell, Hodge, Wera, Puopolo and Rioli. That was a battle so brilliantly fought. The Hawks left to ponder oblivion at the end of 2011. So close, but it's only the Pies who go on.
Wyatt rips your heart out if you're Hawthorn. Strategically, you've planned a great game. You've run the course with the game plan and executed beautifully. But you just haven't got there when it's counted. And probably you've been done over by a big forward called Travis Cloak.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they won that last quarter pretty well, pretty easily. I mean, is it the old Jack Dempsey? The champ gets up when he can't. You know, I mean, that's what Collingwood's done. They're a great side. They'll be better for this. And you're right, Cloak was outstanding, but the stoppage work just took its toll, and they scored goals from it. Hawthorn were brave. If you're a Hawthorn supporter, as we are, David, you and I, they're really proud of the way they played, and I know they're shattered, but I don't think they could have done much more than what they did tonight. And Collingwood just proved to me why they're still the side to beat. They just got great character, and to get up from where they were was an outstanding effort.
I agree, Pete, and the Hawthorn people, just without taking anything away from Collingwood at the moment, the Hawthorn people can look forward to a bunch of kids coming through. Smith at 15 games, Stratton at 26 games, Schoenmaker at 34, Shields at 40, Puopolo at 19, Suckling at 28, Whitecross under 50. They've got a terrific group coming through. Some that didn't make it tonight also. Fantastic.
Down into the rooms we go with Kelly Underwood.
Not just breathing a very big sigh of relief. Wild celebrations down here, Jared. Let's soak in the atmosphere. Crazy scenes down here, and scenes just shared really by the president, the players, the coaching staff. Eddie Maguire is in tears. He's hugging his sons as I speak, and you've got to think of players like Tarrant, who's back in this side, Cracker, and Leon Davis, what it means for them. As soon as we get an interview, I'll throw straight back up to you boys.
And the Collingwood chant is still going around the ground well after the players have disappeared into the rooms. It's like the day Lily took 4 wickets and they were still chanting Lily about an hour after stumps.
It'll be some time before they do depart. Collingwood 10-8-68. Defeat Hawthorn 9-11-65. A last quarter that will take its place with the greats in preliminary final history.
And there have been a few of them over the years, haven't they? And we often get the best finals games this weekend. I hope that tomorrow's game might deliver the same for those who attended.
There's some real upside to Collingwood. I mean, Thomas, I think he's just going to get better because he was rusty, but his work rate was...
He got better as the game went.
He
was great tackles at the end.
I'd be a little bit concerned with Jolly if he's hurt a groin. It puts him in a little bit of a dilemma with backup, because you wouldn't want him going down in the first quarter of a grand final and having just Lee Brown there as your only player. And I think Fasalo, is it Fasalo? I think he might push Beams out of the side now. I mean,
I'd agree with that. I reckon that's a real chance. Good. We didn't see much of Didak either. He came on and he had a couple of possessions.
Yeah, but he didn't get much of a run.
Let's just head down and savour it. Leon Davis with Kelly Underwood.
Leon Davis, congratulations. Your premiership dream is still alive and kicking. What an absolute heart starter, mate. How does it feel?
Feels great. I thought when Buddy kicked that miraculous goal in the Pog, I thought it was all over, but boys credit, they kept fighting, and Bally got a goal after that, so put us in front, and got the win. Look forward to next week.
When it comes to emotion-charged victories, where do you rate this one? The coach was in tears after the game. Such an emotion huddle at three-quarter time. When you heard that final siren, what was the emotion that was sort of coursing through the veins?
Yeah, look, massive amount of emotion going through my body, but look, once the siren went, I knew we got the win, and just started thinking about next week that it's still alive, and we got one more game to go. So we'll regroup over the week coming up and get the body right to be ready to go.
And it was a win that took, just about every second and every inch of energy. Do you think that week off really helped the boys, particularly in that last quarter?
I reckon it did. Everyone knows we went to Arizona for the pre-season, and the boys worked pretty hard over there to really try to lift on that and remember what we did over there. So look, just to get over the line in the end against a great side in Hawthorn was a credit to the boys.
Peter Schwab, David Parkin, some questions for Leon Davis.
Leon, can I ask the first one? Was the pressure as big out there as we thought it was sitting up here?
Yeah, it was. They're a great side. Look, that's the reason they played tonight and played off for a grand final. So we knew we had to play every second of the game to get over the line against them, which we had to do in the end. So the pressure was up there, but hold us in good stead for next week.
And the work out of the stoppages was just fantastic. I mean, that's been a great strength, and particularly you caused a number to be kicked. Front half stoppages were just what Collingwood do best of all.
Yeah, look, it's something that we work on during the week and stuff like that, get our structures right and all that, what makes that for us. So yeah, for us to get as many stoppages as we can, then we get our setups right and we go from there.
Leon, Peter Schwab, well done for you personally on your year, but also, to get through and get another opportunity. Just the move for you to go forward, when did that come?
Just after half time, I think Mick just said, just drift forward and try and do something for us. So lucky enough, I got a goal, so it was good.
And the pressure all night just didn't seem to ease up.
Yeah, it didn't. As I said before, they're a great side and we knew that was coming, so hold us in good stead for next week.
Guys, we're going to have to leave it there. They've been called into a meeting. Congratulations, Leon. All the best for the next 7 days. Back up to you guys.
Kelly Underwood in the Collingwood rooms. The Pies by 3 points over the Hawks.
Well, he missed the premiership last year, but if they win the premiership this year, he'll be part of it.
Yeah, he's a great story, isn't he? Because we all thought when he went out of the side last year how he's going to resurrect himself at his age and with a team that still looks strong. So he did. He did it so well that he got an All-Australian nomination. And, now, personally, for him, it'd be great to see if he could get a premiership. But
plenty of blokes haven't been able to recover. Derek Kickett still holds a grudge quarter of a century later.
Well, that's what I'm saying, particularly their age. Sometimes you can miss out when you're younger. But it looked for most of us who have followed Leon's career that just might be it. So I reckon he's a great story. But I come back. I think Hawthorn's pressure made a lot of the Collingwood players not play well. So there is some upside for them. But against that, they'll be coming up, off a really tough game. And my big worry for them is Jolly. I think that's a significant factor in how they structure up next week.
You mentioned in the contested possession, and we talked about Swan sort of working his way in the game and Thomas not being able to scratch. But Thomas has had 16 contested possessions in this game, and Swan had 18. The nearest Hawthorn player was Lewis, who we thought was absolutely outstanding inside. He had 14. So the combination of those two players in that particular role, I think those statistics tell us a bit of a story.
I think Mitchell just got a bit tired in the last quarter, but he had an outstanding game. Lewis, as you called it, David, there was a critical 50-50 ball in the middle of the ground, which he won, and they nearly manufactured. They had some chances, Hawthorn, there's no doubt about that. I got annoyed with Puopolo, in a critical situation where he just didn't think his way through it. But in the end, they had the better players when it mattered, and they had the big power forward, as Nida said, that they could continue to go to Cloak and know he did. But not only that, he led up all the time, and he created space behind himself, and he's proven tonight, Cloak. There's been some who say that he hasn't had great final matches, but tonight he's pulled out one of the really big final games.
He's been dodgy kicking for gold, but gee whiz, in the last quarter, clutch kick, he nailed it. So the old headphones with the crowd noise going through his ears must have paid dividends.
I think he'd give him a great outlet around 70 out in that last quarter, and he turned the corner and then put it deep inside 50, where either they took a mark or they got a restoppage. And as Swabby said, they're always dangerous at the restarts once they got another stoppage. I thought Birchall was an amazing wild card for Hawthorn. I thought some of his dash out of half back was exhilarating. I don't think Collingwood coped with him very well at all. I think he was too fast for him. Often he would run around them at will. Now, they won't have to deal with a Geelong backman that essentially does that. Geelong are the craftier, smarter backman with Enright and Mackie and Scarlett and guys like that. The big question from my perspective is, can they deal with the extra man back with Scarlett being it for Carlton? And will they roll that dice again, or will they go the extra man ahead of the ball to match it up, 6v6?
So automatic, is it got to be Geelong, is it?
Well, I think so.
Most of the season we've been talking about the top two, but the gap between the top two and the rest is now officially not much.
Yeah, I think that's true. Certainly my head, I was trying to not play the heart, but my head said that this would be a 3 or 4 goal win. I knew Hawthorn would throw everything back. They have a good record and came in with a fair bit of confidence they could do the job, but I didn't think they'd be able to sustain the method or the pressure for the time that they had to do. They did it for 3.5 quarters. I thought they were absolutely desperate inside. I love their contested ball work. I've ended up going in more times in the 50, I think 54 to 52. They've ended up with 20 scoring shots to 18. So all up, they've actually, worked themselves in a position where they could have, I'm not saying should have, but they could have won the game. And I think Hawthorn people will go away thinking that they can build on. They're not going to lose too many at the top end, if any. Maybe Bruce might be one that... he's got a contract for another year, so he'll be around for another year. So, but their bottom end is just full of potential. I've got no doubt about it, including 3 or 4 that aren't in the team right now and, of course, coming back. And if they were smart, they'll bring Roughhead back in and they'll play him as a big, solid, high-ball killing defender, because their front half's okay in my opinion. I reckon they should be thinking about doing that for his own redevelopment as a footballer. But he was a ruckman going back when he played that during the year, this year, before he got injured. He killed some of the high balls, as you've got to have 1 or 2 when in the finish Cloak gets no shorter and jumping at him, and the all up, the third man up, as we have to do so often today. I reckon in the finish that drains you. Took an enormous amount out of a lot of players in having to do that, and I think that fell away at the finish as well.
I agree. I thought the backmen did pretty well, given they were undersized, and I'm not too disappointed with their performance, really.
87,112 in at the MCG for the first preliminary final, a game that will be spoken of on this weekend for years to come. Collingwood from 17 points down with 5 goals to 2 in the final term to claim victory, 10-8-68 over Hawthorn, 9-11-65. To our news radio audience who have been with us on Friday nights and Sundays right throughout the season at various times, thank you for your company throughout. The grand final will be right across the network next weekend. Collingwood is there. For the rest of the nation, we go on for the next half hour to pull it all apart, search for meaning in it.
Can I just...
I want to give you one, though.
Give you one. 87,000.
It's a great crowd.
That is a great crowd in the finish. We were thinking, would it get to 80? And it certainly didn't look that way. But to have drawn 87,000, that's a good thing, because the game delivered against that kind of attendance.
Look, I know it's just fresh in my mind, but I can't think of too many times when the losing team have put so much into it, their effort was so good, and they are so unlucky to lose a game. Now, in a lot of close games you would say that, but Hawthorn's effort, I mean, Sewell and Lewis throwing themselves in packs and risking their bodies, it's just fantastic, I reckon. I love it.
Just made some, probably made more errors that were critical in the end, didn't they? And didn't stop those goals coming from stoppages and couldn't hold Cloak. I just want to go back to your point about Roughhead, and that's fine, but I still think Hawthorn need another big target down forward.
Yeah, that's probably right. But Hale actually is filled in.
I don't think he's the answer, is he?
Well, he's kicked goals all the way through. He's taken marks down there. They've been 2 of the best marking forwards in the competition. If you go and look at it statistically, they've been very good. But they need another. There's no doubt they need a third marking forward.
They're hard to find,
They are very hard to find. Yeah, well, and that's why probably they won't do it, I'm suggesting. Young Lyle can play. He's got a bit of height and etc. And he might be one that can go back rather than have to go forward.
Let's head back into the Collingwood rooms. Kelly Underwood has Dane Swan.
In fact, I've got Chris Dawes. Doesn't quite have as much ink as Dane Swan. Chris, maybe one day. But, has it all sunk in yet? You've had a few moments in with the coach behind closed doors, and you've emerged, and all of a sudden these rooms are a chock-a-block full of very thrilled family and friends into a second straight grand final. Has it sunk in?
Yeah, well, I think at the moment the feeling's sort of a mixture of relief and elation, I suppose you could call it. And we're really satisfied with what we've achieved so far, and to give ourselves a shot at another grand final and to win such a hard-fought battle that was tonight is really satisfying.
It's been a big and high mountain that you've had to climb over 27 rounds. How much more have you got to give with one more to go?
Look, at least a week and 2 if we draw it, I reckon.
Might throw it upstairs to the guys. Some questions for Chris Dawes.
Chris, Matthew Knights, I spoke before the game that I felt your match up against Darren Glass a couple of weeks ago would hold you in good stead for tonight's game. Did you feel that it was such a magnificent hit out for you personally that it helped you in your cause tonight?
Yeah, look, I think playing against a quality opponent like Darren Glass, I'm only going to learn from it, and I suppose it gave me that chance to brush up on my body-on-body stuff, and I was able to use that occasionally tonight, although Hawthorn, to their credit, were pretty good at getting that third man across and avoiding those one-on-one contests.
Did you feel frustrated at times that when you were winning stoppages or centre bounce wins, that it was coming in and the Hawthorn extra man was at times acting as a foil and preventing you and Travis from flying at the ball?
I think that's something we've dealt with all year, and we're pretty comfortable dealing with that +1, and obviously it's frustrating, especially because their midfield put such good pressure on that the kicks coming in were under pressure, and so, you know, the midfield did all we could ask of them, and, you know, it was frustrating at times, but it's no one's fault.
Chris Peterswald, well done. Just three-quarter time, do you know, was there anything that stuck in your mind that was said either by one of your players, by the coach, by a collective group?
I think, you know, sort of come three-quarter time, it's not as though there's a magic coaching move that's going to get us over the line. It was have faith in the systems we've got in place, and above all, just put the effort in and fight it out to the end. And to Hawthorn's credit, they pushed us all the way, and we were able to show that fighting spirit that we've had success with in the past, and we were able to get over the line.
Chris, and then if I go back a further step to half-time, that we were making comments in here, we felt your ball movement was a little bit predictable and slow. I mean, you tend to play down the line a bit, but we just didn't feel there was any move. Was that discussed?
Can't tell you, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think you know, our ball movement, when the opposition puts good pressure on, it's slow, and we were able to sort of get the ball going a bit more on our terms and move it a bit quicker in that second half, I suppose. But even then, there were still times where we had to move it slow and had to fight it out and inch our way along the boundary line.
And just a quick one on you, the hand?
I can't hold on to a mark, but the hand's not actually hurting.
No, I wasn't saying that for that reason, mate. I was just inquiring as to how it was.
No, look, it's no longer hurting. It's still a bit weak, and my touch isn't quite where I'd like it to be, but it's not an excuse anymore.
Has it been a bit harder to get back than you might have imagined it would be, Chris, late in the season, getting the touch back?
Yeah, look, it gave me a chance to freshen up my legs, but trying to come back in, you know, at the business end of the season where the pressure just keeps going up every week, it's been tough, and probably tougher than what I would have thought, but hopefully I'm over that now and I can just look forward to next week and play a proper game.
Just give us a sense out on the ground. The tension sets in around the stadium probably from halfway through the third quarter, and then in its most at its height, it's so palpable. How does it feel out on the ground, that the tension when a prelim is in the balance by a goal?
It's just that sort of feeling, and I know you boys have all been there before. It's just that we can't let this end like this. We have to win this game, and you find another gear you don't realise you've got, and you just sort of try and will yourselves over the line. And Hawthorn were exactly the same as us, and we were almost lucky in the end.
Will a game like this hold you in good stead for a grand final, Chris, do you think?
I would have preferred it to be a bit easier. I'm pretty tired now, but definitely, look, we couldn't ask for a better dress rehearsal in that sense.
Good on you, Chris. Appreciate your time. We'll see you next Saturday.
Cheers. Good on you guys.
Chris Dawes with us in the Collingwood rooms. 10-8-68 the Pies to the Hawks 9-11-65.
It was different last year, wasn't it? They had a romp. They led by 10 goals at half-time and gave up some margin in the second half. So they had the handbrake on last year. Boy, they had to keep going to the last minute tonight.
Yeah, they did. I look at some stats. Scoring assists. Collingwood only had 7. Hawthorn had 14. So that tells you that Collingwood were getting goals from contested situation or one-off effort or a stoppage situation.
Yeah, and I go to the other extreme now. There are only 18 contested marks taken for the whole night. Guess who took 6 and guess who took 12?
Yeah.
And in the finish, Cloak, we all marvelled at Cloak's effort. He increased his workload. He got further up the ground. But what he did do, I hope I'm right in saying that, I didn't check whether they came from him or not, but certainly the contested marks,
he had 5.
He took 5 of them. And
he had 8 inside 50s.
He's about four more than anybody else. And don't tell me that big, strong marking forwards don't make the difference. And
he also took 4 on the lead.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a terrific effort, and every club's looking for someone who's capable of doing what Cloak is almost a standout in the competition now. Even the opponents, Kennedy looks like he's developing to that sort of player at West Coast. Geelong have still yet to find one. We saw a bloke who played his best game in our previous match here that we watched, but I'm not sure that he's Hawkins yet in that sort of class. And to be quite truthful, Pete's saying it, they've got to play Roughhead down there because he looks like the only one at Hawthorn who can do that job as well. So you don't win them usually without them. That's why Collingwood might still start favourite. I'm not so sure, but they're hard to find, but they deliver. And if they do deliver, you are a good side.
That's why, if you think back, I can think of two, Wayne Carey and Jonathan Brown.
Absolutely. Stephen Kernahan before that.
Yeah, that's going way back.
Yeah, it is a long way back. But we don't win it. But you just keep. You keep saying, that's one of the fundamentals you look for. Target forwards who are in form, and you don't win grand finals. I can't remember anybody's won a grand final in my lifetime that didn't have at least one.
Well, he's starting to put Travis Cloke into that elite company.
Well, he has. I reckon he's got to that stage. He has improved as an individual player. His kicking still leaves a little bit as high, but that's a heck of a lot better than it used to be. And there's no doubt if he were to fall over this week, Collingwood can't win. Simple as that.
And he's a tough hombre, because when you have a negative connotation on your game, which was his kicking, it takes a lot of resilience and toughness to keep pushing forward as a player. So he's taken the hits, and he keeps coming through as a footballer, and I love that fact. That
imagine the pressure on him, especially when you're Collingwood, and it would seem that the whole country either hate you or love you, and you're kicking for goal in a big game, and you're 30 metres out, and you're spraying it all over the place, which you used to do. He's done very well to come through that.
I mean, you asked that. No, I don't think he's in Carey or Brown's class yet, but he took a big step tonight.
So it's a great last quarter, 5-2 to 2 goals. For the rest of the night, they were comprehensively outplayed. They look stodgy. They're blokes who haven't played a lot of footy, look rusty as all get out. What is going to be the takeaway from this game, Matthew?
I think the fall of the ball players had poor nights. Cracker, Beams, Sidebottom got a little bit going late, and Didak's a real concern for me. I watched him run on the wing here in the last quarter when Lee Brown was... And Didak could have sprinted to make a 2-on-1. He couldn't even sprint as a fresh man to make a 2-on-1. There's something that's not quite right with Allen. He does not look right to me. And that was indicated by his substitute. So I think, Jared, the fall of the ball players is their upside, their scope, because they all had average nights. And even Cracker, when he got the ball, really botched it up 3 or 4 times, which is really unusual. So that's their upside. Their concern is a little bit the ruck. Can Jolly go against these mountain of a men and Ottens and Nat New and Cox, whichever team he comes up against, a brilliant ruckman, and Ottens has been in superb form. So that's the concern, is the ruck work. I like the fact that Shaw, Thomas, Dawes, Tarrant and Reid have all got another run under their belt. I think they will be better for the run. So the upside for Collingwood is the increased game time for those underdone players, plus the scope for their small forwards who all had poor nights.
It's hard to imagine that tomorrow's game they can knock each other around as hard as they did tonight. It's a terrific advantage for Collingwood, having finished on top, that they've played Friday night. The others will play Saturday afternoon, and if it's the Eagles, have to fly home and all that. It'll be an advantage to the Pies. They might need the extra 16 hours or whatever it is to get over this.
I don't think it'll be played the same way, though. I don't think either... I might be wrong here, and you can argue that West Coast and Geelong as a combined contest will play in the same. I don't think it'll be as tight and as hard inside as it was tonight. I mean, I cannot believe some of the efforts, multiple players in there, and the ferocity was a bit like watching Kerr play. Kerr stood out last week as the player who dominated all that. There were 4 or 5 Kerrs here tonight, going about their work in the same way with almost the same effect. That to me won't happen, I think, tomorrow. So the team that gets through tomorrow, yes, they have their disadvantage of one day, but it's unlikely either of them will be subjected to the same pressure and physical forces which the teams were tonight.
No, if it's as hard and tough tomorrow, there'll be arrests.
Jordan Lewis's effort was unforgettable in the middle of the ground. It just seems an injustice that he didn't walk off a winner after something like that.
He had a very good game, Jordan Lewis. I think Geelong will be encouraged to use the ball and cut Collingwood up a bit like they did in the last game. I know Collingwood underdone, but I reckon the one thing Geelong can do that can worry Collingwood is their skill and movement of the football.
So Collingwood by 3 points over Hawthorn, and we mentioned the extraordinary shots of Mick Malthouse in tears after with the release of the final siren, knowing that he will take his team to the grand final. He's at his press conference, and that is where it has started.
Mick, incredibly emotional you were in the final moments there. Could you just take us through your thoughts and some of those emotions for...
Not really. I'll try. It's a blur. I really, the last quarter we tried to... I'll have to lead up to it, because I just thought that we just weren't on, but we hung in there. Full credit to Hawthorn. I said before that either side of a goal is bad luck or good luck, and they were on the other side and we were on the plus side. But I thought they controlled the game enough, but we didn't let them go, and I reckon that's testament to the leadership group. And we dug deep at three-quarter time and thought if we can just sneak one back early, it might just rattle it a little bit, and if we can get a couple, it'll just drag us back again into a low-scoring game it was very difficult to score. Clearly it was. It's a finals. It's a top finals game for two defensive sides. We were one, and they were probably 3 or 4, and last month they've probably been the best defensive side. So nothing was going to come easy. In fact, very rarely in our side did we ever had most of our goals, I think to three-quarter time, scored by all our tools. So the hope for me was that our mediums would start to score with pressure a bit, and as it turned out, Dave's kicked one and whatever else happened. But emotion at the end, I suppose, when only Buddy would kick that goal. I don't think there's another player on this planet who would kick that goal, and it's not a fluke. And I could just think at that time, I thought, God, we've worked that hard. But by working that hard, I thought we had a little bit more in us. And I was just trying to... Jeff Walsh, I don't know if he's gone deaf or not, but anyway, he'd be down the other end trying to reorganise the structure, because we knew what Hawthorn would do. They'd throw everyone behind. It's important that we got someone up. So the blur was, when it took place, that we had left one behind, but we also pushed pretty hard in to negate their two defensive players. And there's a couple of tackles made by blokes that had no right to make them because they're out on their feet. There's a couple of blokes out there that did something pretty miraculous, and you can't help get emotional about it, because they're just wonderful blokes. You know, I've worked with some of these blokes for 12 years, others leading up to 2 or 3 years. So it's one of those times, I suppose, if it went the other way, that's the last game. I didn't want that to influence the game.
Mick, in the third quarter, when you were, I guess you were really looking for something because you were just hanging on. The Didac substitution, was it running through your mind, or you were deliberately holding back? Or was it?
No, I really could have made it at half time, but you just can't take the gamble. We had a couple of players that just didn't get the footy, and it was there in front of me. But we had a couple, as I said, there's 2 or 3 blokes who were just running around by sheer memory, more so than with their bodies. And we got some work to do this week to get them up, but none of them should miss. But they were all pretty sore. It's a very physical game. So when do you pull the trigger? Too early, you pull it on the wrong one. The player I had in mind halfway through the late second into the third quarter was the player we were able to substitute. He just had a bad day. So, and I thought Alan's enthusiasm and creativity. He only had 4 possessions, but it was fresh 4, and it was a 4 that needed attention.
Mick Malthouse at his press conference. Collingwood 3-point winners over Hawthorn. Kelly Underwood has gone to the Hawks' rooms. Kel.
Well, Jared, it's always tough enough to fall one game short, but to fall less than a kick short of the decider is, as you can imagine, pretty agonising for these players down here. Most of them, the majority, still in the meeting room behind closed doors. Gradually, one by one, they're sort of filtering out into the shower and change rooms area. Sam Mitchell's out here at the moment, just been embraced by his partner. And it's a loss that will burn and probably churn away for some time for these players. Jeff Kennett has just come from the meeting room, so no doubt he's probably addressed the playing group as he finishes his 6-year reign as president, just 1 game short. No other board members down here, though, just a few other fringe players, and they've just opened the doors, so just slowly filtering in family and friends. But as you can imagine, very, very quiet, and the complete contrast to the Magpie rooms next door.
Good on you, Kel. Let's tidy up the stats, Drew, from a compelling night of footy.
Well, pretty much all night I was talking about the kicks and the marks of the Hawks, because they went from winning a premiership in 2008 with that rolling zone to this new style of short kicks and marks, and sticking about 8 or 9 of them together. But boy, the gap closed in the last quarter. So by the end, the kicks were Hawthorn 220, Collingwood 215. So a margin of just 5, and the marks 98 to 88 in favour of the Hawks. Now, for all of the night, the margins for both those stats were far greater. The inside 50s finished up being Hawthorn 54 to 52. The contested possessions were won by the Pies, 152 to 136. The clearances went to Collingwood, 39 to 34. David, you love the tackles, 70 to 63 in favour of Collingwood. It's the sort of game where you'd reckon both teams would have been up to the magic 80. Now, some of the individuals. Dane Swan, 32 possessions and 18 of them were contested. Pendlebury, also 32, 11 of them contested. Ball had 24 possessions and he kicked the winning goal for the second week in a row. Davis moved forward. He had 23 possessions and also kicked a goal. Maxwell 20, Thomas 20, and he came good towards the end, and he laid 9 tackles and a couple towards the end when I reckon he was one of the blokes that Mick was talking about. They were too tired to be able to do it, but they still did it. And 9 tackles for Daisy Thomas when we thought maybe he was a bit sort of short of the mark after serving that 2-week suspension. A great performance.
Well, the one where he's run Rioli down has echoes of the past.
Oh, yeah.
A tackle inside the final minute of a preliminary final.
Yep. And for Hawthorn, Sammy Mitchell was great. And what a few days he might have. He just lost the preliminary final by 3 points. He might get the votes in the Brownlow on Monday night and not be able to walk away with the medal.
Go and speak to Chris Grant.
You can create a dank picture, can't you?
Yeah.
Poor bloke.
Can I rub it in? What else?
He's won the ABC award. He's won a heap of other awards. Inside footy, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
He has had a sensational year, Sammy Mitchell. It might all come up with nothing.
So you're arguing again, Drew, that age-old classic that a suspension shouldn't count. But it can't, because historically it's the fairest and best.
I know, but it's not as though he hauled off and whacked a bloke or anything like that. Bit sad, really. All right, Mitchell 31, Lewis 28, and 14 of those for Jordan Lewis were contested, so exactly half. Birchall 26, great season, Grant Birchall. Sewell 25, Burgoyne 25, now to 21s for Hodge, Schoenmakers, and 20s for Isaac Smith, a youngster, and Bateman, although Bateman did cough up the ball a fair bit. Well, it was just such a tight game. The scoreboard reflected that. 87,000, if they all paid, they all got their money's worth. It was a ripping night at the footy.
Who wants to give us some of the better players from the encounter?
Just
commendations.
For Hawthorn, you just better give everyone. So who you don't? Look, Mitchell was outstanding, and Lewis, Birchall, Burgoyne played that kick behind play, but he did set up well. Hodge did some good things, but wasn't dominant. Rioli did some really clever things. You underestimate Rioli. He had 8 inside 50s and he kicked a goal and set up 3 himself. And I thought he's pretty. I thought young Shields was okay. Schoenmakers got a lot of criticism, but he probably got beat. But he probably didn't in the end, because he had doors, didn't he? So he probably did okay. But certainly Mitchell, Lewis, Birchall, and Burgoyne were the best 4. Although Burgoyne had a little bit easier run because of the role he played. So I'm not even talking about Collingwood. I'll leave that to you,
Well,
David.
yes, I take you, and Matthew might give us the best, I'm not sure. They'd be pleased that Maxwell, who I thought was very ordinary early, along with Thomas, and I think Swan in the finish ended up a dominant player, but to me he played much more effectively for whatever reason. Not sure he got more ball or used it better, but he became a prime mover for them, particularly in the second half. Cloak, as we said, was just a joy to watch, and he had the numbers against him, and he kept coming at the ball and marking it in contest situations, so they've started to rely on him, and he's delivered against that. You're right about Sidebottom. Well, in a few of the younger blokes, really, I thought they struggled. Reid, obviously, that injury curtailed him. Tuvey probably played the worst game I've seen him play. There's a great raps on him. Lee Brown really is struggling to the line, I think. He did cause a goal down there at one stage by leaning back, etc. But he's just looking is coming towards the end, and Beams, who I love as a player, couldn't get near it tonight. One that Mick mentioned in his aftermatch show. I reckon they've got a few concerns. If Geelong were to bowl along and win by half dozen goals and get out of it scot-free, then Collingwood are going to have their hands full again, and I would think that Geelong would arrive saying that they can handle this.
Before Matthew goes, can I get this? I'll throw a quick one at you both. Do you take Brown out of the side and bring Wood in because you're a little bit worried about Jolly, and then if you need Jolly to go forward, he can play forward?
I think not, because Brown, well, yeah, it's good, and they probably will think about that, but Wood has got to play basically as a ruckman. He's not an effective forward. Brown has the capacity to go back. Had they lost young Reid, then I'm sure Brown would have been the bloke who'd gone back into the back half and provide them with the extra tool if they needed it. So, I mean, Mick was very honest, wasn't he, about who was where and the work they've got to need, and they were lucky to get out of it. So they've got some thinking.
The votes, Matthew?
Dane Swan is not in the votes, but I was most impressed tonight. I thought his acceleration at times, both offensively and defensively, was one out of desperation tonight. He was a will to win, and I thought that was amazing. I've given one vote to Birchall. So dynamic. In their premiership year, he was outstanding, and he's back to that very brilliant form. Cuts, dashes, kicks the ball beautifully, and I think David mentioned 6'2", 6'3". What a wonderful player he is. Jordan Lewis, 2 votes. Quelled Pendlebury early. 7 tackles, 28 disposals, and as Jared mentioned, that attack on the ball was brutal in that last bit where him and Thomas and Dawes were clashing and banging in the centre square. And I've given 3 votes to Travis Cloke. 19 disposals, 11 marks, 3 goals, 3 and 5 tackles, and he was the one that put Hawthorn players on their backside at times in just really aggressive.
3 for Cloke, 2 to Lewis, and 1 to Birchall from Matthew Knights. Drew, we'll see you here tomorrow for the prelim. To David and Peter, though, that wraps up our Friday nights, which have been tremendous again throughout the year. So thank you very much for your involvement throughout.
Oh, it's been a joy, Jared. Thank you. Good working with you.
We have loved it. We don't like Hawthorn losses.
And Adam. And you, mate. Drew. Thank you, Pete.
So Collingwood marches on to the grand finals, seeing off Hawthorn 10-8-68 to the Hawks, 9-11-65 in a last quarter that had it all.
Collingwood need a big quarter because they've only kicked 5 goals for the match.
Collingwood's up against it. Thomas, devilishly clever off the standing start. Kicked it to Shaw, off the side bottom, up to Jolly. Jolly guides it for Cracker, gets it on the bounce, gives it to side bottom, arch the back, kick the full forward, Dawes, got it. Thrilling stuff, one end to the other. Grimly defended, they go down to get a goal. To inflate the Collingwood campaign. From 30 out, directly in front, he does the job. And maybe they can draw some belief from it.
By Luke Ball towards half forward. Dawes in the middle of the pack, can't take the mark. Rowed by Davis, off the left, Leon. Will it carry the distance? Yes! A goal to Davis. Defender turned forward. Margin 4 points.
Bateman is too far out, off a step, he's gone for the money pass, and Hodge, the skipper, got to the pack to take the mark. The Hawks skipper from 30 out kicks the goal. Hawthorn had the breathing space back.
Hale in ruck wins, but it's sharp by Swan, who snaps. Oh, it might have been touched. No, it's a goal. A goal to Dane Swan, and they get back to within 4 points.
Stoppage place, Swan on the move, Swan on the run, Swan from the pocket, absolutely brilliant. And he's the one that's exploding away from these contests.
Kick and a half to goal. 4 points to lead to Hawthorn. 18 minutes played last quarter. Pendlebury's kick out towards the pocket. The big men fly. Cloke marks. It was going to be Dawes or Cloke. They were both in the contest. Distance about 35 metres. About a 45-degree angle. This to put the Pies in front. And the Army rises at the MCG.
Open forward line, up over the top near Franklin. Franklin paddles to the boundary. He has it outside of the boot. Runs it home. That is bloody magnificent. Only Lance Franklin would dare. And he has dared to put his Hawks back in front. Knock comes to the side. Luke Ball gets it. Swings it at goal. It's there. It's there. Luke Ball has returned the Pies to the lead. As we straddle the line between hope and ruin, it's Collingwood by 2 points.
Swan met head on by Hodge. What a collision. Ball comes out to Rioli. Oh, he's too slow. Run down by Thomas, who's laid a couple of great tackles, Daisy, in the last quarter. Might be a match winner. Pack gathers. Punch to the front. Didak can't take it. There it is. Collingwood get the chance to defend their title. Hawthorn braving defeat, beaten by 3 points. Final score in an absolute nail-biter. Collingwood 10-8, 68. Hawthorn 9-11, 65.
Mick Malthouse is in tears in the coach's box. That's how that match has wrung him out.